Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. All right, so shout out to everybody who is in the building. Late is good to see y'all, all right? If you guys can hear me okay, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you guys cannot hear me, give me a thumbs down or an angry face. All right. I'm gonna shout out everybody in the building. All right. Shout out to my man Carlton Way with the Discord bars. Yeah, we're gonna have to get them. We're gonna have to get the Discord bars on this beat, and we're gonna have to travel all the way to the Shy and get Twister and Do or Die and Psychodrama. And if we could find some members of Crucial Conflict on that beat. You know what I'm saying? On that beat. You know what I mean? On that beat. For sure. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to my man John Guillory. Shout out to Jay Bird in the building. Shout out to my man Carlton. We got Roots Trackers in the house. Shout out to Bam. What's good with it, bro? We got Tony Taylor in the house. All right. Shout out to everybody, man. If y'all haven't smashed that like button, smash that like button. If y'all haven't hit the bell, please make sure that you guys hit the bell. All right. Another thing, I don't know if anybody is aware. You guys already know there's a channel called Undocumented. There is also now the Undocumented Bros channel. Take a wild guess what we're going to be talking about over there. You might be surprised. It might not be exactly what you think. Shout out to my man Tricky Nick. What's good with it, bro? So before we get into this, right? This is unrelated, but I have to show it to you all because it's so crazy. Now, you guys see, if you watch this stream all the way through to the end, it'll take you to the next scheduled stream, which will be on Crimecast. All right. Make sure that you guys watch this live stream all the way through to the end. Let it take you to Crimecast. Hit the like button over there. If you're not subscribed over there, subscribe. All right. Leave a comment. This would be on Crimecast, but your boy is doing some grifting tomorrow on Crimecast. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going to be the regular thing. But we got to look at this because this is crazy. I'm not even going to say anything. I'm going to just let y'all read the title and all the words on the screen. Okay? Read the title. Read everything that you can read on the screen. I know the print might be small if you're looking from a phone. Not even going to interrupt. I'm going to just let this play. Then we'll get into the migrant stuff.
Now I'm joined by Chad O'Melia's father, Sean O'Melia. And Sean, I know we are catching you just sort of fresh out of this day, this shocking day in court. Can you take me to that moment and describe what that was like for you to hear that she would spend no time behind bars?
Well,
I don't know if
one thing that
we got him back. Okay.
One thing that appeared very strange to me is that we were asked to prepare some victim impact statements to address the court, and we read our statements, and it really didn't matter. I didn't understand the whole exercise because Judge Worley, when he read his verdict, he had already prepared it. So why put us through that? And at the same time, you've already prepared what you're going to say. You've already predetermined what you're going to say before you've listened to the victim's family. I think David Worley ignored the request of the DA. They wanted the maximum penalty. He ignored the recommendation of the probation officer, which was felony jail time. She was to do prison time. And he has shown a tremendous amount of bias in this case towards the victim. Towards the defendant. And I called him out on it. I in my comments to him I told him, I said, you've been extremely biased against the prosecution. It's been obvious. I mean, in my work, what I have to do as a manager for the University of California system, we are trained to identify bias. We don't tolerate bias. And I could see it. It was explicit. It wasn't even implicit. So
now, do you think that this individual here, this father, the victim's father, do you think that he'll call out, quote unquote, the actual bias? Because we all know what the actual bias is. What is the actual bias? I'll let you guys say it in the comments section there. Shout out to my man Tricky Nick. He can give you guys a hint. Right?
Everything that happened that day shocked everybody in the courtroom. I think it even shocked her family because of their reaction. And essentially, he let her get away with killing another human being.
So, Sean, about that, you know, unless you've been through the...
It's almost like she had Alvin Bragg as the prosecutor. If you guys agree, it's almost like she had Alvin Bragg as the prosecutor. Give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate each and every one of you all. If everybody could smash that like button, we got 15 people watching and we got 8 likes. If everybody can hit that like button and get us to 20, that would be great.
Process like you have, people just don't know what it's like inside a courtroom, especially when there is another family on the other side of this impasse. What was that like to be directly next to a family that seemingly was getting pretty good news? Did you talk at all? Did you exchange contact of any kind, eye contact, words,
Shout out to
anything?
Faith and Lighten. What's good with it, Faith?
Well, I'll tell you this. When her father got up to speak, and to answer your question, I don't look at them. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want, people have sent me all kinds of information about them. I don't want it. It's unnecessary for me to know. Okay. I'm interested in my son, and, you know, I'm there to honor his name and to honor my family and to myself. I have a lot of respect for myself and I have a lot of respect for my family. And unfortunately, their attorneys, their family, and, you know, this system has not shown a lot of respect for my son's life. But I will.
Now, here go my question. How many people have heard about this particular story in the mainstream media or in the news? If you guys have heard about this, give me a thumbs up. If you have not heard about this, give me a thumbs down.
Will say that her father, when he got up to speak for the first time, he acknowledged what his daughter had done. He apologized to me for it, and I shook his hand. But unfortunately, as he hands me an olive branch, his attorney, Robert Schwartz, goes into some speech and then tries the whole victim blaming thing in front of the judge again. I mean, he just burnt the olive branch down. So, no, there's been some misconduct by her mother. She's confronted me in the hallway once. She confronted some other people in a hallway. And her oldest brother, he constantly stares me down, which is really a fool's errand. They have to remember what's happened here. Their sister, their daughter, butchered my son. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about this verdict. I'm not happy with David Worley, Judge David Worley. I am not happy with him at all. And I think the message that he has sent is that, you know, victims really are not considered, at least by him.
Now, here's my question for you guys in the comment section. How does this happen? Only in America, right?
I don't want to lump all judges into sort of one group, but we seem to be seeing way too many perpetrators of crime not truly be punished for the crime they commit. And
well, let's look at the demographics of those people who aren't punished. I wonder if the people who aren't punished all fit the same demographic. And then you have to examine, well, then why is it that that demographic seems to have this particular issue with those particular kinds of crimes? You got to ask the question. So I'm asking you guys.
if you don't do that, there's no deterrent. The crime is just going to get worse. So now he's opened Pandora's box. Everybody that smokes marijuana and kills somebody, there's a precedent. They should get probation, right? So
How many people have ever smoked marijuana and gotten violent? If you guys have ever smoked marijuana and gotten violent, give me a thumbs up. If you guys have ever smoked marijuana, if you haven't gotten violent when you smoke marijuana, give me a thumbs down. I used to smoke marijuana. I never got violent. Never got violent. Never had a thought of getting violent. I guarantee you, though, had I smoked marijuana and I did get violent, I guarantee you I'd be doing a lot more than community service. So what we got to ask ourselves the question of is, how does one delete somebody in this way, right? You delete somebody in this way. You know what I mean? Where you stab somebody more than 100 times and get no prison sentence. Yeah, I got to agree. I got to agree with Rob from Denver. And even still, when they experience it, they know exactly why what happened. They just, you know, some of them just tend not to speak out about it, or they'll speak out about it and try to avoid addressing the issue directly. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Right? Make it make sense.
I did in the courtroom express at one point, I said, you, sir, have just given people a license to kill. That's what you just
Oh,
done.
yeah, you talking about
And
that. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton talking about that K2, that potpourri. Do they still sell that? They used to sell that at the gas station. Do they still sell that? I thought they stopped making it because people was having seizures and all kind of stuff.
Yeah. You cannot allow people that, regardless of what they feel they're doing or their state of mind, to not have any punishment for the taking of a human life. It was absurd, and it was kind of a disgrace to his profession, I think. But my understanding is he's going to retire in February, so he's not worried about re-election. He doesn't care.
Thank you for watching. Go to News Nation
now. That's interesting, right? That's interesting. Now, that didn't have anything to do with what we're talking about, but that was so crazy. That was just so crazy. I had to show y'all, man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just bizarre. You know what I mean? That was just bizarre. Now, how many people have heard Biden is now starting to quote unquote talk about the border? Now, what I find interesting is that Joe Biden is actually talking about the border, but he's still trying to cut the razor wire in Texas. Shout out to Carlton Way. Carlton Way said, I'm happy she didn't blame a black man for her crime. I'm happy it wasn't her chasing Jonathan Majors down the street. We might not have Jonathan Majors anymore. You know what I'm saying? You know? So my question for you guys is, do you all think that Joe Biden is talking about the border now, not only to try to get points for this Ukraine/Israel military deal, but also to try to score points with voters? If you guys think that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't think that, then give me a thumbs down. Okay?
At the southern border. Of the 2+ million people who come across illegally each year, 85% or more get paroled into the United States. That means they get a bus ticket to the city of their choice. They get a work permit to be here in America and are told to show up in a couple of years for a court date. President Biden can change the rules about parole tomorrow and send all of the people we see back to Mexico to wait for their asylum hearings. By definition, a lot fewer people would come. We learned the reality on the border when we were down there. The more people who come over and get released with a bus ticket or a plane ticket to the city of their choice and then call back to their friends and say, hey, I made it, the more and more people who come. That explains why the number of crossings under President...
Why don't they wiretap these people then? If they're worried about telecommunications and people spreading misinformation like that, anytime they encounter somebody while somebody's on a probationary period, why don't they wiretap them? They don't have any constitutional rights at that point until they become naturalized. Put them on a surveillance program if you're going to do it like that. How come all of these things that they could possibly do, they choose to not do. So we got to ask ourselves the question, why do they keep continuing to even have these kind of conversations if they actually do not want to address this? If you ask me, the majority of these conversations that are being had about the migrant crisis, about the southern border crisis, they're all just fluff. They're all propaganda. They're all made to make it appear to the average unintelligent American that something is being done, when in reality, absolutely nothing is being done.
President Biden are many multiples of those under President Trump, and expected to only continue to increase. The New York Times today issued a warning to Democrats, pressuring the Biden administration to keep parole. Quote, the Democratic Party increasingly reflects the views of socially liberal professionals on immigration. These affluent, highly educated voters tend to favor more open policies, while working class voters prefer less immigration. But it's not just a working class issue. December 2023 poll shows 79% of registered voters want more Border Patrol agents. In other words, to stop more people from coming. 67% want to deport illegal immigrants already here. 58% want to use the military to stop illegal immigration.
Now, this is what I find fascinating, right? They won't use the military to try to stop immigration, but they're actually using the military in Texas right now with this standoff between the federal government and between the National Guard in Texas. And now, I don't know if anybody is aware, but other states have started to send their National Guard down there as support staff to Texas. How many people heard about that? There's about 4 or 5 other states who have sent their National Guard, or who are in the process of sending their National Guard, and have put official statements out about their support of Texas. So what we have is a standoff, you know what I'm saying, of a coalition of states against Joe Biden's military. Now this is an interesting situation, because what we have is we have state governments, right? We have state governments in a military face-off against the federal government and the federal military with a coalition of states. In my opinion, if this persists long term, this will be the act that initiates CW2. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now what we have is a ticking time bomb. They can either defuse the time bomb or they can let it explode. My question is, which one do you all think that they'll do?
Now, Director of Data Science, Decision Desk HQ, Scott Traynor, Democratic strategist Kirk Bardella. Gentlemen, good to see you. Scott, and we saw that, right? 27% of Americans identify as Republican, 58% want to use the military, more than 2/3 want to deport people who are already here. That surprised me. What has the border become a proxy for?
It's basically become a proxy for everything from economic issues. That's what we hear when we look at the results in Texas and Arizona and California. It becomes a proxy for social issues. That's what you look at when you see the people, the mayors of New York and Chicago. And it has become a partisan issue. By and large, Democrats promote what they call comprehensive immigration reform, and Republicans want something more concrete, whether it be a wall or troops on the border.
Like, we think about what the deal right now on Capitol Hill is. That look, the big four, everybody was at the White House for negotiations here. Okay, so the deal basically $61 billion for Ukraine, $14.2 billion for Israel, $14 billion for border security, $1.2 billion to combat fentanyl, all things that people want, and to end parole. Mm-hmm. And what I can't figure out, Kurt, is that it seems kind of obvious, right? If you want people to stop coming across, you've got to stop letting people out into the United States. All the more, 1,000 more Border Patrol agents doesn't do any good if you're just going to catch people and release them. Mm-hmm. How did we get, forget deporting everybody, how did we get that letting everybody into the United States is so sacred among progressives?
Well, I think that progressives are a victim of their own left flank, kind of promoting this idea that, well, we should welcome everybody in the world, right? We are all a nation of immigrants. You hear that catchphrase a lot, I think, from the left. They are horribly out of step where I think most Americans are right now on this, especially when we're seeing now in cities like New York. It used to be, well, it's a border issue. It only affects people on the border. The rest of the United States doesn't really care because they're not on the border. But now that we're seeing migrants get bussed over to Chicago, to New York, to cities, to metropolitans, they're like, wait a second. this isn't working for us. This is a problem. We do not like this. And the more that keeps happening, the more we're seeing Democrats just not adapt to the reality that people are seeing every day in their backyard. It's not just like in California where we're from here. They are now seeing it in their streets. They're seeing it in their workplaces. They're seeing it in their hospitals. They're seeing it in their schools. Democrats need to wake up here because this is an issue that could cost them dearly in November if they don't.
Now, I think that this issue, among other issues, is absolutely going to cost the Democrats dearly in November. And I don't think that there's any way for the Democrats to recover. This is too far gone. They're not going to be able to convince anybody that they're able to make any significant changes. And then they still have to answer for trying to hamper progress that some of these more conservative mayors and some of these more conservative governors and senators are doing to try to reduce the border crossings in their areas. Because you got the Biden administration saying that he's concerned about the border while directly attempting to stop the razor wire from being put up. So that doesn't make any sense. You can't say one thing and then turn around and be doing another. But then you have the media, right? And you all know the media is not going to hold anybody accountable for any of the doublespeak. And then when we talk about the doublespeak, our content is going to be deemed as misinformation, despite the fact that we prove it with the mainstream media's own reports that they've switched narratives on. So my question for everybody is, do you see the Democrats being able to turn course on this immigration disaster before November? I don't see it at all. I think that the Democrats are going to have a very difficult time on all levels of government that are up for election from now and going forward. Because I think that they've, for the most part, they accidentally exposed themselves. Nobody's believing any of the propaganda. People are coming up with their own creative outlets to be able to bypass algorithm suppression and shadow banning. So people are still able to spread their message. Mainstream media viewership is at an all-time low. Independent media viewership is at an all-time high. Make it make sense. Yeah, I got to agree. If you guys agree with Tricky Nick, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. This is what they wanted. Absolutely. And it shows.
They don't adapt.
All right, Congressman Pete Aguilar, Democrat, on this. Take a listen.
We're not going to fix this by building walls. We're going to fix this through broader use of technology, manpower, immigration, judges, humanitarian assistance, aid to local communities who are dealing with the frontline impacts. Unfortunately,
so what there's, as you guys can see here, remember, they're still just talking about servicing the migrants and servicing the migrants more efficiently and providing more resources to them. That's not going to stop the problem. Remember, the problem that we have to deal with is border encounters and border crossing. Anytime anybody mentions any type of suggestion that doesn't directly deal with the issue of border crossings and border encounters, that's not an issue that's going to deal with changing the situation in the long term. So you can immediately decide whether you're going to tune somebody out or continue listening to them based on what they say, probably within the first 5 minutes of their response to one of these types of lines of questioning. You know what I'm saying? Pretty simple stuff. Yeah, they make it complicated.
As you've heard recently, Speaker Johnson doesn't believe in anything comprehensive when it comes to the border immigration.
Look, politicians are known to spin, but that's just disingenuous because you can have all the Border Patrol agents you want, Scott, and if you don't say, once we catch people, we're going to deport them, we're just going to release them, it doesn't matter. This is the question. Are swing voters buying the concept that Republicans are holding up immigration reform?
So it depends on how it's framed. I think by and large, swing voters want a solution. You know, Republicans.
Again, we're still talking about immigration reform. Immigration reform and border security are two completely separate issues. They're even dealt with by different agencies in the United States government. So again, we got to ask ourselves the question, when we're hearing these people talk about this, why are they discussing it in this way? We have to make that make sense, and we're not going to be able to make that make sense.
Want to be specific about either, you know, military and the border walls, whatever it is. Swing voters just want to stop talking about this, which is why I think it's interesting. You look at what Mitch McConnell's been saying to the conference. You look at what the Democrats want. Speaker Johnson obviously is against it. You know, by and large, swing voters don't want to talk about this issue anymore, which is why it's their #1 issue.
Thanks for watching. Go to join.
Yeah, I don't think that swing voters want to talk about this issue anymore because they want to vote on it. They want to get this issue done and over with. But I don't think that this issue is anywhere near being done and over with. This is going to be a long, ugly battle. And honestly, I think this is going to be a long, ugly battle that regardless who wins the presidency, we're going to have to sit through their failure of how they fail to deal with it, because they're going to ultimately fail or do what appears to be a guided failure on their own. So we're still going to have to be dealing with this. You have to have something that's going to sell you. You got to have a issue going on to be able to appeal to that issue, to be able to appeal to people, to have them create a value judgment on which issue matters the most, so that you can vote the person who directly addresses that issue for the most. You know what I'm saying? That's that controlled opposition Hegelian dialectic. You know what I'm saying? So Biden claims that he's ready for quote unquote massive changes at the border. Like what? Like what? What kind of changes is Biden suggesting at the border? Has anybody heard any of Biden's border proposals?
And I want to talk about another top issue, the border. Now, I love how he's turned on, and Biden's for a free and open border. Just tear down everything, let everybody come, no restrictions. Well, I used to be a bipartisan issue in this country, and it should be one again. I've been clear from the very beginning. The system is broken. My first day in office, I sent Congress.
When did Biden ever? When was Biden ever clear on his stance on immigration? Biden's only stance on immigration has been that the undocumented people, the illegal people here, he's going to give them all a pathway to citizenship instead of actually trying them case by case basis. These politicians need to be held to the fire about the nonsense and when they lie. When you guys detect the lie, if you're watching on the replay, make sure that you timestamp it with a lie, where they're lying at. Got to document all this stuff. These people are crazy. They say that this is misinformation. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton says Biden is not telling the truth. I agree. If you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with Carlton, give me a thumbs down. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 24 people watching, and we got 17 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 30, that would be great.
There's a comprehensive plan on immigration reform. My friends on the other side have done nothing with that. Over and over, I've asked for resources to step up action at the border. In October, I asked Congress to fund for funding that would add another 22,000 additional border agents and officers, hundreds of new immigration judges to make the judgments on the spot, a new detection equipment to stop fentanyl from coming into the country. And by the way, I've worked with China and Mexico to slow the flow of fentanyl in the United States. As I speak, it's way down. So let me be clear. My team has been at the table for weeks now with a bipartisan group of senators to negotiate a deal.
Now, here's the thing, right? Biden said that his team has been at the table for weeks to negotiate a bipartisan deal with senators, right? My thing is that this migrant crisis has been going on his entire presidency. And if you just sat down weeks ago to try to do something about this, what's been going on the entire time that you've been president? What has he done to address this, or even just to simply acknowledge this the entire time that he's been president?
Including border, because I believe we need significant policy changes at the border, including changes in our asylum system to ensure that we have the authorities we need to control the border. And I'm ready to act. I think, oh, God willing, and the creek not rising, as my grandpa would say. You know, I think next week we ought to be able to work out something, at least in the Senate. And I'm hopeful it's going to be the bipartisan package the Senate is going to pass, God willing. Now, the question is for the Speaker and the House Republicans. Are they ready to act as well? They have to choose whether they want to solve a problem or keep weaponizing issues to score political points against the president.
How about just to get you to do anything about it? I mean, I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. This is insane. This is one of the reasons why nothing gets done in government. For one, because all of the jobs are filled with a bunch of incompetent people. And for two, it's nothing but a seesaw and a blame game without anything ever getting done. I mean, he hasn't addressed anything. He hasn't offered a solution. He hasn't said anything. He's just been sitting up there doing what he always does. Biden babble. What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about?
I'm ready to solve.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why is it that when it comes to posting on social media, why is it that the tech companies will do all kinds of deconstruction and post all kinds of links and embedded messages to fact check content creators, yet politicians blatantly lie and they never do anything to fact check or embed messages on politician lies? Has anybody ever noticed that? If you're an independent content creator and you write about or you talk about certain topics, whatever social media platform that you post on will embed messages. Oh, this is what happened in the 2020 election, or this is what happened with C-19. But when the actual politicians lie about these things, these tech companies are nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. Why are the tech companies hiding? Speaking of tech companies hiding, Zuckerberg just bought a big tunnel to hide in. Makes you wonder, is that a cultural thing? Some people, you know what I'm saying? Some people clearly like tunnels.
The problem. I really am. Massive changes. And I mean it sincerely.
All right, so there's that. Okay.
Thanks for watching.
So that was Biden. He said absolutely nothing. That right there is about 1 minute and 50 seconds of our lives that we'll never get back. We'll never get it back. It's gone. It's gone. You know what I'm saying? You'll never get that minute and 50 seconds of your life back. Yeah, I gotta agree. Shout out to Tcalp Socks. I hope I said that right. Tcalp Socks. Tcali Socks. I hope I said that right. Because you're going against the narrative that the politicians are presenting. Yeah, facts. I would agree. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Yeah, it's gone. Family to time is gone. FTTG, family to time is gone. You know what I'm saying? That's the grad school for FDMG.
Here's how President Biden responded to the crisis at our border. Roll tape.
Do you believe that the border is secure, sir?
No, it's not. I haven't believed it for the last 10 years.
Biden said, I don't know where I'm at right now. Look at this. He says, I haven't believed it is for the last 10 years. Why haven't you done it? Well, what are you getting a paycheck for then? Biden admits that he hasn't believed that the border is secure for the last 10 years. Why didn't you do anything about it then? Your entire last 10 years, you've been in a position to where you could either advocate or directly get something done. What have you been doing? Is that a valid question?
I've said it for the last 10 years. Give me the money.
Okay. Sheriff Mark Daniels from Cochise County, Arizona joins me now. Sheriff, the president just said it's not been controlled for 10 years. Give me the money. What's your response to that?
Well, this is the first time that in 3 years since he's been president that he even admitted that.
Yeah.
And you put that in perspective, what his Secretary of Homeland Security, Mayorkas, has been saying for 3 years, based on insults, abandonment, and avoidance to the sheriffs, the governors, the mayors that have been doing everything they can to secure our border, to include the own agents, CBP agents, is the fact that if Mayorkas is saying
they got that razor wire up there, and on top of those trailers, they got it looking like The Walking Dead down there. Just Man said they're in cahoots. Didn't Elon Musk expose their backdoor dealings in the Twitter files? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she better watch out. He might sniff her hair. You know, Biden like that shampoo.
Saying that the border secured, effectively secured. He said that numerous times, but the president finally comes out and says it's not. Puts a real pinch right there. But also in the meantime, we've been insulted for 3 years on this.
Now, you're the sheriff in a county that is right on the border, I believe. And I keep hearing that some of the towns on the border have been turned into war zones. Is that accurate? Tell me more about that.
It's very accurate. Every day, and this is where I get frustrated, every day that goes by, we have a tragedy. We have the pursuits, what you just saw in Texas, that happens here. We put 400 and some people in jail last year in my jail in Cochise County for pursuits, 566 smuggler drivers in my county, 2,884 people are booked in my jail for border-related crimes in my county in the last 2 years. The bottom line, they changed the quality of life that we have here. Sheriffs around the country have been addressing this with the president, trying to get him to work with us, to include Secretary Mayorkas, and these are the tragedies we're seeing every day. So it is frustrating.
Do you want a wall? Just put up a wall and a return to Mexico policy, just completely reverse policy. Where are you coming from on this?
Well, we got to engage it. We have to work together. State, local, and federal has to work together. That's what our oath of office says. If we're not working together, you have situations like this. That's why Governor Abbot in Texas is doing what he's doing. He took it in his own hands, as we're doing in Cochise County, our governor, our state. If we're not doing that, if we rely on the White House and Congress even, we're in trouble because it's not getting fixed on this border.
You said in your...
So now my thing is, my question for you guys is, hold on real quick. Sorry about that. My question for you guys is, why does Biden think that this is so funny? Have you guys ever seen, like, all the time when you look at Biden, when he's addressing this issue, he's always laughing. It's always funny. Everything is always funny to Joe Biden. You guys notice that? Do you think that he's laughing at his joke of a presidency? You think that might be it? If you guys think that what the secret of what Joe Biden is always laughing at is he's laughing at his own joke of a presidency, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't and you think it's something else, then give me a thumbs down. Tricky Nick says it's because he's evil. That's probably a little bit of it.
County, you're taking things into your own hands. What are you doing?
Well, we have Safe Street operations. We have financial crime operations. To give you an example, for the last 2 years, it's cost my county, just in jail costs, $9.4 million on border-related crimes, just in our jail. We put on programs. The building I'm sitting in right now is a new border operations center that deals with intel, human trafficking, all this. We get little to none when it comes to federal support or federal funding to address any of these issues down here. The state of Arizona, my county, my mayors, we're doing everything we can to protect our citizens. Why federal government stands up and points fingers and the blame game. We got to unite on this because every day's a tragedy.
But they come through your county, right? They don't come in and stay. They come through and head north someplace.
Well, Arizona leads a nation in fentanyl, so they're coming through every day when it comes to fentanyl. Also, the other thing about it is just on street releases by Border Patrol. And since May of 2023, in 6 months, we had 650 state-coordinated and local-coordinated buses take migrants out of my county that have been processed to NGOs. Whether it's fight and flight pursuits, whether it's street releases, it's not a good scenario. And it's about time President Biden actually acknowledges it's not working, but we need his leadership to help fix it.
Got it. Sheriff, thanks very much for being.
Now, here's the thing, right? I don't think that Biden is capable of leadership. So that's a very, I don't know if that's a safe assumption to make or not, to assume that, you're going to get leadership from a non-leader. But, if that's what you think, more power to you, So next, what we have is we're going to talk about the ruling in the border wire case. All right. Now, shout out to Torian Rain, because Torian Rain posted a community post about this, and I've been following this. If you guys aren't subscribed to the channel called Undocumented, make sure you guys take a moment and go and subscribe to the channel called Undocumented. If one of the mods could put the link for Undocumented in the chat, that would be great. But we did an extensive video on the border wire situation, right? Also, we've been following this content over here since before you were rewarded in the algorithm for doing it. Like you see a lot of other people just hopping on now talking about the migrant crisis, right? So we've covered Greg Abbott and Operation Lone Star, which is what this is all a part of, extensively. So after you've binge watched the playlist of Undocumented Bros, make sure you watch all of the original immigration content that's in the playlist called Immigration. All right. And you will see all of this stuff. Okay. So what we're going to talk about here is the mechanics behind the decision that drove the courtroom decision. the Supreme Court decision, because this is the same Supreme Court that, you know, struck down Roe v. Wade, the same Supreme Court that, you know what I'm saying, is the Biden appointed the Trump supported Supreme Court, and they didn't rule in a conservative way on the border. So now my question for you guys is, why did that occur? I want to know what you guys think about why the Supreme Court made the decision that they made. And shout out to Carlton Way for putting in the Undocumented channel. Make sure you guys hit that link that Carlton put in.
The Supreme Court is now allowing Border Patrol agents to remove razor wire installed by Texas along the U.S.-Mexico border. The wire was put up to discourage illegal crossings. The Biden administration argued it hindered Border Patrol agents' ability to process migrants who are already in the country. In a 5-4 vote Monday, the justices overturned a lower court ruling preventing officials from taking it down. CBS News immigration reporter Camila Montoya Galvez joins us now. Camila, tell us why did the Supreme Court side with the Biden administration?
Good evening, John, from the Texas border town of Eagle Pass. This is at the center of this legal fight between the Biden administration and Texas Governor Greg Abbott. This is one of the sections, John, of the U.S.-Mexico border where Texas National Guard soldiers, some of whom you can see behind me, have been setting up and assembling razor wire to repel migrants from swimming across the Rio Grande and entering the U.S. illegally. By suspending this lower court ruling, the Supreme Court is saying that the Biden administration can now remove that razor wire that Texas has put in place to process migrants on U.S. soil. This was a brief order that did not include a legal justification, John, but we do know that the administration had said and argued to the High Court that this razor wire was obstructing and impeding Border Patrol operations, including efforts to process migrants who are already on American soil and to respond to medical emergencies. It's important to note, John, that
now make this make sense. Somebody make this make sense. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Do you all feel that the Supreme Court went against common sense logic to do this? If you guys think that they did, give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that they didn't, give me a thumbs down.
once migrants get into the middle of the Rio Grande, they're technically on U.S. soil, and Border Patrol has no option but to process them and determine what those migrants should end up, what should end up happening to those migrants, I should say, whether they should be deported, released into the country, or detained for the adjudication of their cases. Texas, for its part, John, has said that this effort is designed to deter illegal border crossings.
So what happens now? Can Texas challenge the decision, or is this it?
This is in no way an end to this legal fight between the administration and Texas over this specific issue of the razor wire, John. This will suspend a lower court ruling, but an appeals court in New Orleans is still reviewing this case, John, and could very well side with Texas in another decision that we could get any day now, and the administration could eventually be, again, prevented from setting up or relocating and removing this razor wire, I should say. And so Texas still has some options here legally.
And very briefly, Camilla, before I lose you, since the Supreme Court didn't say anything, is the fight over Eagle Pass, the park in Eagle Pass, that just continues and this doesn't really relate to that at all? Or is there any kind of connection we can draw?
Well, the park is the one right behind me, Shelby Park here in Eagle Pass. Texas National Guard soldiers, John, commandeered this park earlier in January and have blocked Border Patrol agents, federal employees, from accessing this area to process migrants. The administration has said to the Supreme Court that this has obstructed Border Patrol operations, but the Supreme Court did not rule on whether or not Texas can continue to block Border Patrol agents from this area. But we do know that the Department of Homeland Security, John, has referred this matter to the Justice Department. So there could be a separate lawsuit on the merits of Texas's actions here in Eagle Pass as it relates to this park.
Camila Montoya Galvez, thank you.
Yeah, so this, so there's that. So this is the situation that we have, right? We're about to watch a moderately detailed video from CBS about this, right? The governor is putting up razor wire. The federal government is taking it down. The governor of Texas has now implemented measures to attempt to deter the federal government from getting in there to try to cut down the razor wire. Exactly. Facts. Think about this. The government can remove the razor wire, but they are unable to remove the migrants entering the country illegally. Facts. Now, if you say that to yourself out loud, or you have a discussion with people about that, you got to continue to drive home the point of making sure that people are aware of how little sense this all makes, which is one of the reasons why this is not something that they really, keep on the news cycle as far as blasting this kind of content to everybody all the time, because nobody's going to sit there and listen to this without eventually asking themselves, well, wait a minute, none of this stuff makes any sense. Right, exactly. And shout out to Tricky Nick. Don't stop illegal activity unless they're black, the government. There still hasn't been a satisfactory explanation on why those Haitian migrants were treated the way that they were treated. Now, we know why they were treated the way that they were treated. We know that they were treated that way because they're black. But the mainstream media and the government always has some type of alternative truth or some type of alternative fact that they'll attempt to discuss that in so that they don't have to deal with their racism, right? But the interesting thing about that situation is that they haven't even addressed that at all. There's been no explanation of that. So my question for everybody is, why has there been no explanation? They haven't tried to address that at all. Make it make sense.
I want to bring in CBS News contributor and Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson now. Jessica, first of all, thanks for joining us. We've talked about these different efforts that, whether it's for political reasons or for practical reasons, Governor Abbott has implemented, despite not really having, as the governor of a state, the jurisdiction to implement, carry out immigration law. What do you, first of all, talk to us about what this 4-5 decision means, and for how long will the state of Texas, the federal government be allowed to remove this razor wire?
So we don't know. This is temporary. And there was, as you said, there was a suit by Texas against federal border patrol agents saying, you basically destroyed our property and you trespassed on our land and you should not have cut these wires. That wasn't up to you. That wasn't your place. The federal government, in defending that, very interesting matchup between federal power and state power, has said that is absolutely our purview. We have to patrol, as their name suggests, we have to patrol the border. We are in charge of people crossing the border. We are in charge of investigations. We are in charge of the safety and welfare of those who are crossing the border. And so what you had here is two lower court rulings in favor of Texas. In this case, the Supreme Court jumping in on an emergency application. There's no reasoning, as is typically the case for an emergency application. 5-4 with Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett joining the liberal justices, saying the federal border patrol agents can go ahead and, in certain circumstances, can basically break apart that wire.
So you guys see, pay attention to which judges help to contribute to this decision. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Is this proof that the two parties are just an illusion? I think that this is proof right here. This is a documented instance where it can no longer be, in question. We can solidly say, here is a documented example of how these parties, right? Here's a documented example of how these parties are all the same party. Shout out to Clarence Thomas. Shout out to Carlton Way. Carlton Way said, was big homie, big Uncle Clarence Thomas part of the decision? He's probably just sitting somewhere smiling. Clarence Thomas always sits back and is smiling like he just finished a hoagie, isn't he?
safety and welfare of those who are crossing the border. And so what you had here is two lower court rulings in favor of Texas. In this case, the Supreme Court jumping in on an emergency application. There's no reasoning, as is typically the case for an emergency application, 5-4 with Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett joining the liberal justices, saying the federal Border Patrol agents can go ahead and in certain circumstances can basically break apart that wire in order to allow people to cross. But as you've been saying, it's also not the end of the story. This case,
if they're on the other side of that wire, they shouldn't be allowed to cross, because once they cross, then that's when they get into that jurisdiction and that issue of once they've crossed, then they have to be processed. So again, this is one of the reasons why decreasing border encounters, right? First strategy, second line strategy, decreasing border crossing is the only way to deal with this. They should never be doing anything that makes it easier for people who are not legally able to cross. That should never be happening. The government should never be facilitating abetting criminals, which is all they do, especially on payday, because literally that's all the criminals getting paid. But that's another story for another day.
This will still be litigated. This is not a decision on the merits. This is a decision based on an emergency application.
One thing that comes to mind, Jessica, as I see this decision is, does this provide any kind of indication as to where the Supreme Court might side or what kind of ruling they would land on when it comes to as before reaching the Supreme Court? As before, just as a reminder for those who have not been following, this is the law that seeks from the state of Texas to give law enforcement from the state the power, basically, to arrest people for violating immigration laws. As you know, the last time this was established was when Joe Arpaio, the era of Joe Arpaio in Arizona, that established that the law in Arizona seeking to give law enforcement that power was unconstitutional because immigration law is up to the federal government, basically Border Patrol. That was back in 2012. Now we're seeing these disputes happening now. Do you see this small ruling today over the razor wire as giving any kind of hint as to where the Supreme Court might stand when it comes to who has the power to implement immigration law?
So potentially, and obviously, we're not talking about just broadly or generally who has the power to implement immigration policy. We know, as you said very clearly, that is within the purview of the federal government. That there are certain battles between the federal government and states, which are separate sovereigns. But we know that when their two policies conflict, there is something in the Constitution called the Supremacy Clause. And the Supremacy Clause says the federal government wins. We also know that there are certain areas, as you pointed out, immigration, where the justices have understood.
So how many people knew about that quote unquote Supremacy Clause? If you guys knew about that Supremacy Clause, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't, give me a thumbs down.
And obviously, we're not talking about just broadly or generally who has the power to implement immigration policy. We know, as you said very clearly, that is within the purview of the federal government. That there are certain battles between the federal government and states, which are separate sovereigns. But we know that when their two policies conflict, there is something in the Constitution called the Supremacy Clause. And the Supremacy Clause says the federal government wins. We also know that there are certain areas, as you pointed out, immigration, where the justices have understood that we need to speak with one voice, that we can't have a patchwork of different laws where you have one way to enter this country in California. There's a different set of laws in Texas. There's some cases where we need national uniformity. Now, this case obviously doesn't generally ask who has the power. It's, as you pointed out, a narrower question about this barbed wire, about Texas's argument that they're going to have to bear the costs of migrants who come into their state. And what we see here, to your question, is this small indication just in the emergency order.
Yeah, I got to agree with Carlton. Big facts. And so do people. People and states have the illusion of sovereignty. That's facts. That's facts. How are you sovereign if the federal government automatically supersedes you with the Supremacy Clause? How's that work?
That there may be an appetite by Chief Justice John Roberts, by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, to say, we think that this is not where Texas can make laws. We think that Texas, or more to the point, is actually thwarting the federal government in their ability to patrol the border.
Jessica, I think, when I think back at the I don't know, decade that I've been covering the border and immigration, it used to be that when there was some kind of crisis and states would send their National Guard to basically assist the Border Patrol in doing their job, it was always welcome. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Arizona, in Texas, in California, New Mexico, where you have the federal immigration authorities there doing their job, and then there's sheriffs who basically help, who fill in the gaps, who lend their manpower or their technology or whatnot. But over the last several years, and I'm thinking maybe during the Trump administration, there's more of a divide, or perhaps after, between local or state law enforcement and the Border Patrol. At the end of the day, it seems like it all comes down to politics. Legally speaking, what do you see as maybe the risk, or can you describe what we're seeing now? I mean, these fights just seem so political, despite everybody there, at least from the law enforcement and the border enforcement perspective, seeking to do the same thing.
I think you're right that we see more of these.
Well, that's this woman in the blue is not asking the question properly, because what is not being acknowledged here is that the federal government and the state government are not doing the same thing. The federal government is trying to figure out a way to process illegal migrants more efficiently and allow them to come into the country to work. The states are trying to stop border encounters, and the states are also trying to stop border crossings. So technically, if we look at it, they're not doing the same thing. Yeah. Shout out to King Solomon I. Okay. So we got to pay very close attention to what they say and break all of this stuff down with a fine-tooth comb and document it. Yeah, I gotta agree. And I've been trying to emphasize that throughout when we talk about this. And one thing that you don't see is that you don't see the mainstream media discussing it in this framework. The mainstream media is discussing it in a way where they're trying to make it where the states like Texas are just being mean and they just don't want to help quote unquote migrants. But what Texas is saying is that these people are criminals. We're not going to assist them with the crimes that they're committing, which is not only what they do once they get over here, but crossing the border illegally, which is an actual crime. And we're going to try to deter them from committing those crimes. And this is why we're literally putting up barriers. Like, this is all very simple, right? But what's going on is that it's been taken, broken down, and put back together and represented to people as something different than what's actually going on. Okay? That's the situation that we got here.
These cases where there is a conflict between the state government or a locality and the federal government. And we can think back to an Arizona case where Arizona tried to create more stringent laws for entering that state than the
Oh, that's a big fact. We already know. Let's ask the people in the comment section. Who all name the complex, and first of all, name the complex that controls the mainstream media. Second of all, name who controls those complexes that control the mainstream media, because all of this is a lot of networking, yet they all fall under a similar umbrella. You know what I'm saying?
Federal government had. And the Supreme Court, and I'm generalizing a case that typically takes about 2 hours to respond, but the Supreme Court basically said, no, that's up to the federal government. But we also know there are cases where a more liberal state can take action that is in opposition to what the federal government at a particular time wants. For instance, I'm thinking about California saying we are going to be a sanctuary state. But in all cases, what I think we're seeing is much more of a divide or a battle. And what are the factors that contribute to that? I mean, we can think of a number of different things. One is obviously immigration at the border is a crisis, is a humanitarian crisis, is an economic crisis. And there are different ways of trying to deal with that. We can also see that as our politics have become more polarized, that our legal responses to political issues have also become more pitched and more polarized. So again, I think you're right to point out that maybe we would not have seen this type of battle 15 years ago. I will say that tonight I'm teaching 2 cases in class, and they're all about the battle between the federal and state governments, but they're from more than 100 years ago.
We're talking about a Supreme Court that looks.
Well, how does that affect anybody that's alive today? Right? Anytime any of these people reference history, the first question that everybody should always ask, the comment section should get full. Why are you mentioning 100 years ago? How does that affect anybody that's alive today? That's the first thing that we should always say. Because let me ask you guys this question. How many times do we hear that? So we need to start. People call you delusional if they don't hear what you hear. And a lot of times when people just spout stuff, they don't hear themselves saying it. It's just knee-jerk reaction. So they need to start hearing somebody else saying what they're saying. So you want to reference history. How does that affect anybody that's alive today? That's why it's called the Supremacy Clause. Facts. Facts, Carlton. If you got Carlton says the federal government is telling the states, I'm white and I say so when it comes to the border, based on a clause called the Supremacy Clause. Right? Would you? We're all in agreement, right? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Different, that whose politics, or at least the appointments, come from a different place from the Supreme Court that saw the case back in 2012, the Arizona case. Do you see, given the way this court leans conservative, do you see a massive perhaps shift, and also the crisis at the border? Because you have to say that there's definitely an increase in people crossing. Do you see this court empowering states, at least those few border states, to have more power to pass their own laws and perhaps implement?
Now, here's a question, right? Speaking of supremacy, all the Confederate flag people, we're talking to you. The Confederate flag people, right? When you ask them about the Confederate flag, they'll say that it's not about racism. They'll say that it's about Southern pride, heritage, and states' rights, right? Since this particular issue here is an issue of state rights, I haven't seen one person flying a Confederate flag in support of Texas and their state rights. Because if the Confederate flag was really just about state rights, then, people who protest, people who support this would be all over the place with the Confederate flag, because the Confederate flag, allegedly, when confronted about the Confederate flag, is about state rights. This is a state rights case with no Confederate flags to be found anywhere. Let me ask you guys a question. Why is that? Yeah, facts. If you guys agree with Carlton, this is a great observation. Give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. It's a great observation, and it's also a great failure on the part of low IQ society to try to run game on us. You know what I'm saying?
Immigration laws on their own?
It's interesting because we tend to think of conservative legal thought as being in favor of states' rights. But I think what we often see, and we just talked about the example of California trying to be a sanctuary state, is that doesn't always clearly map. So in this case, we do have a question of, does this court, which is a conservative court,
I disagree with that, Tricky Nicky. I disagree with that. Now, here's what I'll say. What they present on TV, the people that they present on TV, make it appear that these people dance around questions easy. They like Christianity so much, if they ever get stuck in a questionnaire with me, they get nailed to the cross just like the person that they worship. But that's one of the reasons. That's why it's all about perception. Because they want to make it seem like, oh, they just had the answers to everything. No, they don't. Didn't invent everything and don't have the answers to everything. Which is one of the reasons why they pay so well to be controlled opposition. Because appearances are important. So the appearance that they provide, right? The appearance that they provide is that they just do such a really good crafty job of navigating around questions and that they have all the answers. The reason why it looks like that is the same way as if you have an NBA player playing against a bunch of D-League basketball players. That person's going to look like, I mean, they're going to look like Michael Jordan out there, scoring 30 points a game, getting rebounds at will, dunking at will, but then put that person in the NBA. They're going to look like an average player. That's what's going on here. These people seem like they got the explanations about something, and the reason why is because they basically put somebody who has a PhD on a panel with somebody that has less intelligence than a preschooler. But if they put somebody there in a competitive environment, that those people who have been coddled with having to deal with the people where they try to control the narrative on, they'll ultimately fail, which is one of the reasons why they do as much as they possibly can to not necessarily silence those people, but to isolate those people and make their voice travel as short of a distance as they can. You know what I'm saying?
Move us to a place where states have more power when it comes to at least this narrow question of border crossing. And I do think that there still is, and I could be wrong, but I think there is at least close to a majority of the court that understands that you don't want to undermine what federal border patrol agents can do. And let's remember that these are agents who work for any administration. They will work for the vast majority of them, Democratic administration and or Republican administration. So it's not so much, do you like the federal government's policy, but it's, do you want federal government agents to have that power? And in my view, the court would have to upend their previous understanding to rule in favor of Texas. And frankly, they are already upending a number of cases in other areas. I don't know that they want to do that here. And I don't know that that's the path they're going to take.
Fascinating. Well, Jessica, thank you. I also want to bring in CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford, who's joining us from on the phone. Jan, thanks for joining us on this short notice right after this ruling. Talk to us a little bit about what took for this ruling. What was this case all about, if you don't mind summarizing it?
Well, I think that, as we've seen Texas officials say quite publicly, they're overwhelmed by the number of people going through the border. And so we've got a number of kind of legal clashes with the administration and Congress and various.
And real quick, shout out to everybody that's watching. I appreciate everybody who is here. If you guys haven't smashed that like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment and hit the bell. We got 32 people watching and we got 24 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 50, that'd be great.
States over trying to bring some control to access to the border. This is one of them. Texas officials installed this concertina razor wire along the border, and then when Border Patrol agents started kind of cutting it and trying to access different parts of the border, Texas officials sued and said that the federal government couldn't remove or destroy what was Texas property, that wire. A lower court thought that Texas had a pretty good argument, but they allowed the government to go ahead and take it down while the litigation in this case plays out. A federal appeals court said, wait a minute, we're going to issue this injunction that prevents Border Patrol agents and federal officials from taking down this wire while this case is continuing to be litigated below on the merits. So this is an emergency request to the Supreme Court by the Biden administration. In their court papers, as Professor Levinson explained, they talk about how, basically immigration law is the purview of federal officials. That's long been the understanding. And this is interfering with kind of federal immigration policy. And so we got this very brief, unsigned order with no explanation. That's how these matters are resolved just moments ago from the Supreme Court, a 5-4 vote saying that injunction is lifted. They side with the Biden administration, and that means that Border Patrol agents now can begin to remove or cut down the wire as they see fit. There had been an exception in that order that Border Patrol agents could access and remove that wire if necessary for a medical emergency. So I think there was some thought that, well, we're not really sure what the court will do because, if there was an emergency, the order below allowed them to go ahead and access it. But the justices today, without explaining their reasoning, because again, this came up on this emergency basis, only targeting the specific injunction and asking the justices to vacate that, they issued this order. 4 of the court's conservative justices would have denied the Biden administration's request, but the Chief Justice and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, both conservatives as well, they sided with the 3 liberals to provide those 5 votes. So this means essentially that now that clears the way for the federal government to take down this wire while this case.
Amy Coney Barrett is one of those Nikki Haley type conservatives, huh? What do you guys think? You guys think that Amy Coney Barrett is one of those Nikki Haley type conservatives? If you guys think that she is, give me a thumbs down. If you guys think that she's not, or if you guys think that she is, give me a thumbs down. If you guys think that she's not, then give me a thumbs down. I don't even know if I just said that right. Thumbs up if she is, thumbs up if she isn't. Now, I don't know if anybody is familiar with Amy Coney Barrett, but you guys should check out the Senate hearing for when they were swearing her in, and research her N-word, research her N-word history. Now, I don't think that she is guilty of saying the N-word, but she ruled in a very interesting way in a case involving the N-word. You guys should check it out. I got a video up of it. You got to watch the playlist in order to get to it, though.
Is resolved below on the merits. So, you know, we may get another crack at this at some point at the Supreme Court.
Right. That seems to be. So it's this temporary decision. Now Border Patrol can essentially cut the wire, but that is all that this means. Jan Crawford, and for now.
All right. So there's that. All right. So now next, what we're going to do is we're going to check out this video that News Nation has, and they got some footage of some migrants getting stuck in razor wire like a spider web, which has got to be a sight to see. We'll get a chance to see it. Why would you try to climb over razor wire? That I'm not gonna, you know, kid you guys around or anything like that. That razor wire looks very intimidating. It's not like barbed wire. They keep calling it barbed wire, but that's not barbed wire. Barbed wire is when there's like knots tied into the fencing, and the knots have the raw ends of the fence sticking out, right? Which kind of makes a sharp corner. That's what barbed wire is actually barbed. This is wire with tiny serrated raised razor blades on it. You know what I'm saying? This is something very different than barbed wire. So let's check this out.
Texas lawmakers are outraged over a Supreme Court ruling allowing the federal government to remove that razor wire along the U.S.-Mexico border. Lawmakers are ignoring that ruling now in the Lone Star State, and they've instructed the Texas military to install more razor wire at the border, and you can see them doing that right there. Jorge Ventura is in Eagle Pass, Texas, and you've been talking to some migrants in the area as well this morning. What's been the reaction? What are you seeing right now, Jorge?
Yeah, so Marty, right now the Texas Military Department says that they're going to hold the line and to continue their operations inside Shelby Park. Now take a look at the scene right behind us right now. We actually have 3 migrants from Venezuela trying to enter Shelby Park illegally, but they right now have been blocked by the razor wire that's been installed by Texas officials. And as we're speaking to you right now, Texas officials are actually installing even more of this razor wire. Now a big difference from when Border Patrol.
It's crazy how they can just install razor wire and they gotta install the razor wire around the migrants. The migrants is just sitting there chilling. The military is just working around the migrants. Like, this is some really weird optics to watch. Would you guys agree? This is just like some of the weirdest stuff ever. Like, you got a little migrant hiding in the corner here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see down here, you can see him peeping through the corner right there. Who's that peeping in my window? You know what I'm saying? Actually, they made a remix to that song. I don't know if you guys are aware. It goes, who's that peeping through the razors? Ow. I got cut now. Who's that peeping through the razors? Ow. I got cut now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The little migrant, he's sitting up there like, oh man, this cut me. Like he's stuck in a mousetrap. Yeah. So he peeping there, the guy upstairs, he's like, oh, hey, Jose. You know what I'm saying? Jose like, hola. You know what I'm saying? He just go ahead and he lays down more wire, and you know what I'm saying? Jose down there trying to get through it. Everybody's happy to, hey, how's the kids? Oh, they're on the other side of the river. Hopefully they make it over alive. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a nice sunny day. You know what I'm saying? The military is doing their work for the money. The migrants are trying to get under the fence so they can come here to the money. I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is so strange.
Razor wire that's been installed by Texas officials, and as we're speaking to you right now, Texas officials are actually installing even more of this razor wire.
Yeah,
now,
exactly. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Missy Elliott.
We've seen it.
I forgot about the Missy Elliott one. I can't stand the blades on my back. I can't stand the blades. Doop doop. I can't stand the blades. Crawling across the fence. I just got cut. Need some alcohol to rinse. Sand in my cuts. Because I just took some blades. But I made it under safely with my aviator shades. Like, because you know they be coming here in style. You know what I'm saying? They be coming this bad boy in style. Nothing fake. You know what I'm saying? They be having all rural everything. You know what I'm saying?
Where if there are migrants on the other side of that razor wire, then Border Patrol agents will then cut through that wire and then start the apprehension process with migrants. This is what Texas officials say they want to avoid. They do not want migrants actually.
Hey, he
to
looked
be
depressed.
They want to block any type
he just hung
of
his
entry.
head.
And actually,
Did y'all see that? He just hung his head. At first, he was sitting there. He had his elbow on the ground. He was like, let me think. How I'm finna get through here. See, look, hold on, look. Hold on, wait a minute.
The Border Patrol agents will then cut through that.
See, now his head is up. He like, how I'm gonna get through here?
Wire and then start the apprehension process.
See his head, you can see his eye. He peeking right through the hole right there. He peeking right through the hole. Y'all see him peeking right through the hole? Now watch this. He gonna hang his head.
With migrants. This is what Texas officials say they.
He said, damn, they done it again. They just keep installing this shit. Shout out to Crew Reality. What's good with it, bro? They keep installing this wire. He like, damn, I ain't gonna get through today. I gotta go travel another mile to try to find a little open spot.
Want to avoid. They do not want migrants actually to even be apprehended. They want to block any type of entry. And actually, I've been speaking with those migrants who say they actually been on the riverbanks now for 2 days trying to find a way into Shelby Park. We'll take a look over here. You can see, Marnie, even more of that razor wire is being installed by Texas officials. All this to deter any type of migrants coming in illegally. They're actually even installing some of that razor wire on top of those shipping containers because many of these migrants were actually climbing on top of the shipping containers and entering illegally. But these 3 migrants here are from Venezuela. They cannot find any way to enter. And if they do enter illegally, Marnie, they actually will be arrested and charged by Texas DPS troopers. And this is what Texas wants to continue to do, is block migrants from entering Shelby Park. And as of right now, they still have not allowed access to any Border Patrol agents inside Shelby Park. And they say that posture is not going to change.
So just to be clear, are they trying to get through the razor wire? We see them sitting there. Do they want to be apprehended? I mean, how does this end?
See, the news lady confused as hell. She got the exact same face I had when I was looking at that. I don't know either.
End.
So here, Marnie, they want to be apprehended. They are looking to turn themselves over to Border Patrol officials. The issue is Shelby Park is a 2.5 mile radius. There are no Border Patrol officials. They essentially have been all kicked out. Now, what the migrants have expressed is that they have attempted to cross in other areas in Shelby Park and actually have gotten injured by the concertina wire. The female migrant actually was showing us some of her cuts on her legs. The male migrant has some cuts on his arms. But they say they've actually been waiting now on the riverbanks for 2 days. So it's unclear if they'll continue to walk down Shelby Park and eventually maybe find a Border Patrol agent past this kind of shutdown by Texas officials. But as of right
now, hey, how many of y'all ever been broke and you just like kept opening the refrigerator, or you stood in front of the refrigerator and like you keep opening it up, right? You ain't been to the store in like 3 or 4 days, but you keep opening the refrigerator knowing that nothing is just going to appear in there, but you look in there anyway. Then you know there's nothing in your cabinets except for a bunch of condiments, and you look inside of your cabinets and you just repeatedly look inside your cabinets. How many people have done that? Anybody ever done that? Yeah, thinking Jesus gonna put something in there. Yeah. I've done that a couple of times. You just keep looking, like knowing there's nothing. You haven't been to the store. You didn't get no money. You know that nothing's gonna just appear in there, but you just like out of habit, you just open up the fridge or just open up the cabinet. Knowing ain't nothing in there. Then you be like, damn, ain't nothing in there. Acting like you're disappointed when you knew when you opened up that cabinet that wasn't nothing in there. You know what I'm saying? That's how he's sitting here looking at this razor wire. Boy, that razor wire is not just going to move out the way so you can get through there. He's sitting there looking at it like it's just about to move. Okay, I'm waiting. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why you're waiting. It's not going to move. I've tried this before with cabinets. You know what I'm saying? But, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Welcome to America, I guess. You know what I'm saying? He just sitting there waiting, like if I just wait another 5 minutes, bro, you could wait another 5 days. That razor wire is not going anywhere. Trust me, I've tried it. I just hope one time maybe it would be some ramen noodles or something up in there. They never came. They never came. I seen some condiments that I didn't know that I had. Some, you know what I'm saying, some Himalayan salt that I never used that was still in the wrapper. You can't eat that. Some seasoning. You know what I'm saying? But no food. Nothing was in the freezer to put in the microwave. You know what I'm saying? Nothing was in you know, no candy or nothing like that. Nothing. He's sitting here using the refrigerator tactic. I bet you it won't work.
Did you walk down Shelby Park and eventually maybe find a Border Patrol agent past this kind of shutdown by Texas officials? But as of right now, they're essentially kind of stuck. And they actually also mentioned that they can't swim back to Mexico because the tide of that river current is going too fast right now. And if you actually look over here, Marty, you actually will look at Texas officials.
So you can't swim back, but you was able to swim over here, but you're not able to swim back. Man, they come with the craziest excuses. The craziest excuses. I can't swim back. How'd you swim here? What you mean you can't swim back? I can't get back. You know what I'm saying? I can't get back over there. What? What? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody. I appreciate each and every one of you guys watching. We got 39 people watching and we got 29 likes. We need to get to that 50. If you haven't hit that like button yet, hit that like button. If you haven't hit the bell to subscribe, hit the bell to subscribe. If you are subscribed and you're not subscribed to my social media, take a moment and subscribe to my social media. Also, if you're on Discord, make sure that you guys take a moment and hit the Discord link in the chat. Okay? Shout out to the Discord gang. If we got any Discord gang members in the building, throw them Discord emojis into the chat.
I mean, Mexican officials actually posturing up. So even Mexican officials have also stepped up their efforts in stopping illegal entry. But essentially, Marty, these migrants right now are stuck in limbo.
And Jorge, what is Shelby Park for people watching and not familiar with that particular area?
So Shelby Park is a public park here in Eagle Pass. It's about 2.5 miles long. Now, this area, if you remember, Marty, when we were covering Eagle Pass last month, when the 2,000 migrants were crossing illegally every day here, this was essentially a huge staging area for Border Patrol. So they'll have migrants here stage, and that's when the Border Patrol will come in buses and start to transport and process. Now, when I speak with Texas officials, they say they want to avoid those scenes. They don't want any
shout out to
staging
Ricky
here
12.
in
What's
Shelby
good
Park.
with it, bro?
What they want is for migrants to know you will be blocked any type of entry if you attempt to enter here, and you actually will be arrested. So here, Shelby Park, it is a public park, but Border Patrol has been kicked out, and so far we haven't seen any agents even attempt to enter. But these migrants, once again, will essentially be stuck here unless they continue to walk down this riverbank and eventually find a Border Patrol agent.
Now, as we get more people in the chat, I'm gonna ask this question several times. All right, I'm gonna ask the title question several times, and as people watch this video on the replay, please make sure that you guys answer the question about the title. My question, we got 43 people in here. To the people watching, will the migrant crisis spark CW2? Will the migrant crisis spark the second Civil War? If you guys think that it will, give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that it won't, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Greets. Greets said they should introduce wolves and bears there. Facts. And alligators in the river. I said the same thing, bro. Put some vicious animals over there. Put some vicious animals over there.
That has passed Shelby Park, but they say they've been here already for 2 days, and they look very emotional right now, and you can see the cuts on the migrants' arms and legs.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television.
See, I told you they got all cut up. Told you they got all cut up. All right, so now we got some local news reports that we're going to check out, because the local news, you know, is always a little bit different than the national news. The local news, even though they do have a bias in many cases, it is less biased than national news in my opinion. And they also give a lot of details in some cases that the national news doesn't give. They have a little bit more detail, and that's, you know, that's probably because they're right there. They got proximity, access to information first. You know what I'm saying? A better rapport with the people involved in those things. So we're going to check this out.
The state of Texas continued adding razor wire along the southern border despite a U.S. Supreme Court order earlier this week.
And on Monday, the High Court threw out a lower court decision. It means federal agents can resume cutting razor wire, but Governor Abbott says the state will keep adding more wire, saying the state's constitutional right to defend itself outweighs federal law. Fox 4's Blake Hansen joins us now with the very latest in the dispute between Texas and the federal government. Blake.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, razor wire is just one of multiple issues where the federal government and the state are at odds and in the courts over border security. New video Wednesday shows the Texas Military Department beefing up razor wire installations in Eagle Pass along the border southwest of San Antonio. The security efforts continuing despite a setback at the U.S. Supreme Court Monday. The court, in a 5-4 ruling, vacated a lower court decision that blocked federal agents from cutting razor wire. The feds argued its agents...
The rancor and divisiveness. So anytime anybody doesn't want you to continue to push back because you have an issue with how they feel, they start babbling about divisiveness. What's divisive about this? That's seriously, I want to know what everybody thinks. What's divisive about this? Why do they feel that this is divisive, but they don't feel that when people who used crack were getting locked up in prison versus now they've changed drug addiction to a medical diagnosis and they treat heroin and meth addicts like babies? How come that's not divisive? I think that is divisive. Somebody make it make sense.
Doing that, though.
Okay, so
House Republicans passed the border security bill already.
Okay, all righty. We got to wrap it up for now, gentlemen. Ed.
All right, so there's that. Okay, so as you guys can see, Texas ain't going nowhere when it comes to the stopping putting up razor wire. They're just gonna keep on doing it, which it is what it is. I think that they should, and they bringing it back to court. So now, how many people know who this person is right here? This is Governor Kevin Stitt. He's a piece of crap. He's the governor of Oklahoma. He's a piece of crap that's not really happy about having to even entertain anything involving the Tulsa race massacre. He facilitated the people in Tulsa to not get reparations for their entire businesses and lineages and all of that stuff getting burnt down. This dude is another one that's a slavery denier, Jim Crow denier, black humanity, black relevance denier. You know what I'm saying? That wants to get anything involving black history out of schools because it's woke. Probably would not be mad if he got all black people out of his state. However, he posted this tweet and says he stands with Texas. Of course he does. You know what I'm saying? Because, him and Governor Abbott burn crosses in the same forest. You know what I'm saying? But Oklahoma and a couple other states, and we'll look at this, are sending National Guards to assist Texas. Which is interesting because none of these states sent National Guards anywhere like Buffalo or to Florida to assist with white supremacist terrorism against black people that left people dead, which tells you everything. They feel like those terrorists were doing their jobs, especially if you listen to how they look. They want to exterminate any traces of black people in their state history by removing everything from the schools and trying to dilute the relevance of the Tulsa race massacre by not providing compensation for the punitive damages. You know what I'm saying? So these are the kind of pieces of crap that we're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? There was a Dollar General race massacre that conservatives said wasn't about race, despite the fact that there was a manifesto and the white guy only killed black people, and had a manifesto explaining why he did it and explaining that that's what he did. It wasn't racism though. Mental health. You know what I'm saying? People have mental health issues, and somehow their mental health issues drive them to only do harmful things to black people, which is interesting. Which actually, if we talk about racism as a quote unquote mental health condition, we have to talk about the people who deal with it the most. And then if that's the case, if racism is a mental health issue, we have to ask, is an entire group of people mentally stable? So we could tackle that. We could tackle all of the speculation around any of that stuff any kind of way. And there's not any way where it would work out real good for any of those people who commit those kind of acts. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to take a quick look at this. There's an article by Fox News. Border battle lines. Democrats call on Biden to seize control of Texas National Guard as GOP allies back Abbott. So now, again, this is where we're dealing with a quote unquote military standoff, military confrontation, and lines are being drawn. Okay. Border battle lines. Dem call on Biden to seize control of Texas National Guard as GOP allies back Abbott. The Lone Star State is fighting multiple legal battles with the federal government amid the migrant invasion at the southern border. Now, here's my question. You would think that all of the states would be saying we need to try to stop these migrants from coming in through the southern border. But that's not what any of them are saying. Now, I would unlock this article, but every single time I try to unlock an article on foxnews.com, if it's not unlocked already, it starts really slowing down my computer. It starts really slowing down my computer. You know what I'm saying? So we're just going to get rid of it. Okay. I had it up at one point. It's not up anymore. I'm sure there'll be more information about it. We'll cover it when I come across it on a more stable website. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel like doing all that restarting and playing around and all that. I want this to be as simple as possible. I'm sure you guys understand. So I think this guy's first name is Glenn Youngkin. He's the governor of Virginia. As you guys can see, he's come out with a statement here. And his statement says that Virginia stands with Texas. So again, like I said, as you guys can see, lines are being drawn in the sand when it comes to this. Now, here's my question. Wherever you may live at, if your state decided to come out and make a statement about this, whose side do you all think that your state would be on? Do you all think that your state would be on the side of the federal government? Or do you think that your state would be on the side of Texas? Let me know what you guys think. So now here it says Virginia is now a border state like Texas, according to the Commonwealth Republican governor. So Virginia now identifies as a border state. So they're using that legitimate logic. Virginia is now a border state like Texas, according to Commonwealth Republican governor. Okay. Shout out to Ty Valentine. What's good with it, bro? Virginia now identifies as a border state. Governor Glenn Youngkin posted on social media Wednesday evening in support of the Lone Star State in its dispute with the federal government over border security or lack thereof. Virginia stands with Texas. So we got two states standing with Texas. Who are the two states standing with Texas? Yeah, I got to agree. Mayor Eric Adams stands with Biden because he's the Biden of Brooklyn, son. You start calling Eric Adams Eric B. The hip hop mayor. Make shelters like that. That's what he about to do. They're about to make a song called Make Shelters Like That. Yo, my name is Eric Adams, and I'm the mayor. We giving money to these migrants, and it's not fair. I go to the Barclays and eat some shrimp. Got the migrants on the corners, selling my hemp. They coming over with the Gucci, coming over with the Fendi. Some of them cats from Mexico, others of them is Hindi. I asked Biden for some money, but he shit in his depends, B. Make shelters like this. Make shelters like this. Yo, I'm the God Mayor. The conservative slayer. And I dress real dope because I try to be a player. But everybody know that I ain't got no game. On camera, I'm cool, but at a party, I'm lame. Make shelters like this. Oh, man. Hip-hop mayor Eric Adams. Yeah, he definitely siding with Biden. Oh, man, he's siding with Biden. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, you got to take it back to the old school. You know what I'm saying? Eric Adams with the Kango hat on. You know what I'm saying? With the little poof, with the painter style Kango hat with the little poof in the middle of it. Oh, man. So now here it says Texas Governor Greg Abbott is doing the job Joe Biden and his border czar refused to do to secure our border, he wrote on Facebook. The Biden administration has turned every state into a border state. We must stop the flow of fentanyl, save lives, and secure our southern border. Yo, was the government trying to stop any import of opiates when black people were dying, you know what I'm saying, during the crack epidemic? Or were they working with criminals in order to get more access to opiates to provide them to more black people? Hey, I don't have no hair on my dome. Let me answer the phone. It's Biden. He told me to let the bus of migrants come home. Oh, man, they keep asking me questions. I'm like, leave me alone. I ain't taking no more questions. The issue is dead. I ain't trying to be like BJ in a hospital bed. Make shelters like this. Oh, man, make shelters like this. Oh, man, yo, shout out to my man John Guillory for being a like enforcer, man. Appreciate it. Man, that's hilarious, man. We need a freestyle from Mayor Eric Adams. You know what's crazy? The only people that's getting freestyles from Mayor Eric Adams are the migrants because they come here and live that free lifestyle. So they actually freestyling. And then people want to get mad. Plies up there sounding like NYCKZ. Oh, you mad because they freestyling on you. You mad because they freestyling on you. You know what I'm saying? They freestyling on you. Oh, man. That's hilarious. So now here it says Mr. Youngkin added in a post that he also put on X. For the past several months, Texas has been moving to secure the border with Mexico, accusing the Biden administration of pursuing an open borders policy and allowing illegal immigrants and asylum seekers to flood the country, most especially Texas and 3 other states across from Mexico. The most pointed clash right now is happening in Eagles Pass, where Texas National Guard troops have taken control of a local park that had been a major staging point for illegal immigrants to cross the Rio Grande and reach U.S. soil. Texas has also placed razor wire along miles of the river to try to discourage people from wading across. The Supreme Court on Monday ruled that Border Patrol agents can cut the wire. And to me, honestly, like, it's just wild that they ruled that way. Like, that's just wild to me. You know what I'm saying? It's just really, really wild that they did that. Shout out to my man Patrick Taylor. Patrick said Adams ain't got no public support, but what did he expect in New York City with all them immigrants? He had to fold quickly when he was snapping back about those illegals. Adams need those folks in Chicago, right? Eric Adams pushed migrants like weight. Facts, Shamika. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He pushed the migrants like weight. Oh, man. That's crazy, man. So USA Today wrote a pretty interesting article about this, and we'll check it out. Let's see. Hold on real quick. Also, real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's in here. I appreciate each and every one of you all. If you guys haven't smashed that like button, please take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell. Share the stream to your social media. Also, if you haven't subscribed to my other channels, take a moment and subscribe to my other channels: Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Make sure you part of the Discord. So now here it says razor wire at the border. Supreme Court says feds can remove barriers in Texas meant to block migrants. Why is the federal government not enforcing the laws? Here's another question. Why, if Texas truly believes that the federal government is not enforcing their laws, my question is, why did Texas put itself in the situation of where it can be vulnerable? And why didn't Texas first sue the federal government for their lack of enforcing the laws, and then get some type of order, right? Get some type of order for the federal government to have to follow and be compliant with, and then get them every time they're not compliant with it, instead of them acting first. And now it looks like Texas has to change their pattern of what they're doing. To me, it would have been more smart strategically for Texas to first sue the federal government and sue them on the basis of they're not enforcing their laws, and then show instances of them not enforcing their laws. Because it seems like it's pretty understood, right? It seems like it's pretty understood that they're not the federal government's not enforcing their laws. So since that's understood, they, to me, should have enough evidence where it really wouldn't be a difficult time to prove that in a court. So we got to ask ourselves the question why they didn't do that. And I got to agree with Patrick. Patrick says because the Republicans got two solutions: use the illegals as a voting issue and keep their corporate donors who want them illegals here. Facts. If you guys agree with Patrick, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. All right, so now here it says the Supreme Court has allowed the Biden administration to remove razor wire barriers that Texas erected along a 29-mile stretch of the Rio Grande meant to block migrants at the southwest border. Now, what I would do is I would say if we're not allowed to use razor wire, then my question is, what is the Biden administration doing, right, as far as enforcing their laws that is going to take care of this, since we're not allowed to use our method of taking care of it? I think that there's nothing wrong with asking that question. But however, I don't think that anybody would get an answer to that question. I don't think that anybody would get an answer to that question because they're just not going to answer. They don't answer questions. They're just not going to answer the question. I'm saying we just don't answer questions around here. That's how we get down. You know what I'm saying? That's how we get down. We just don't answer questions. You know what I mean? The 5-4 ruling on Monday was a temporary victory for the Biden administration and gave the federal government the upper hand in its fight with Texas while the underlying lawsuit continues. Texas political stunts like placing razor wire near the border simply make it harder and more dangerous for frontline personnel to do their jobs. White House spokesperson Angelo Hernandez said in a statement on Monday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, authorized the installation of the razor wire as a part of a border effort to deter migrants from crossing the U.S. border from Mexico. That included a 29-mile stretch of the riverbank in Eagle Pass, much of which is private land. Okay? So, you know, it's just interesting that the Biden administration hasn't even addressed any of this until now. Texas razor wire holds back migrants and the Border Patrol. But the Department of Homeland Security argued that federal law gives Border Patrol agents authority to access private land within 25 miles of the border, and that state laws cannot be used to stop those agents from carrying out their work. Now, that I didn't know. The agency told the Supreme Court the razor wire is affecting migrants who have already entered the United States and is making it harder for border agents to apprehend them. It is a foundational constitutional principle that the federal government is not bound by the laws or policies of any particular state in its enactment and implementation of federal law, U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar told the court. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton said Monday that the destruction of Texas border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep Americans safe. This fight is not over, and I look forward to defending our state's sovereignty, Paxton said in a statement. Okay. So now here it says the fight over the barriers is part of a broader struggle between Abbott and President Joe Biden, a Democrat, over immigration. Biden is facing mounting pressure over the flood of migrants at the border, an issue his Republican challengers have been hammering on the campaign trail. Abbott also signed a law allowing state law enforcement officers to arrest, detain, and deport people suspected of illegally crossing the border. So now here goes my question. If they don't want Biden to do this, right? If they don't want Biden, or if they don't want Governor Greg Abbott to do this, why is it that the Biden administration is not saying what they will do to enforce the parts of the law that Abbott wants enforced? That's my question. What do you guys think? And that's a great question. I haven't heard that, to Cal. I haven't heard that. And but that is a great question, though. You know what I'm saying? You know how they can get all these sheriffs and border patrol people, they can get them to come on TV and they're complaining about a lot of the conditions that they have to work under. You know? It seems like they can't really find any federal agents to say we can't do our job because of the razor wire. You know? I'd be interested if somebody could find one or two. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I gotta agree with Flatback Lives Matter. That's funny. Flatback Lives Matter said they are not going to do anything. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now here it says, siding with the administration were Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Amy Coney Barrett, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Alina Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor. So there was one guy and a bunch of women who signed off on this. One guy and a bunch of women. There was one simp and a bunch of women that signed off on this. They probably sweet talked him and he fell for it. Okay, ladies. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously, clown? So now here it says those opposed were Justices Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Clarence Thomas. None gave a reason for their vote. What does this say here? You see this? New York City seeks $708 million from bus companies for transporting migrants from Texas. We might have to do a little stream on that tomorrow. That's definitely the grift right there. We're going to put Eric Adams looking crazy as hell on the thumbnail. What y'all think? It's not hard to make Eric Adams look crazy, in case, you know what I'm saying, y'all didn't know that. But what y'all think? Sound like a good grift for tomorrow? Let me know what y'all think. We'll put that on the Undocumented channel. We'll put that on the Undocumented channel so y'all can watch that without ads running every 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? This the ATM machine right here, so y'all getting ads every 30 seconds. But we'll do one where y'all can actually watch the video. Oh man, that's crazy, man. That's crazy work right there, man. That's crazy work. The administration's emergency appeal followed a ruling from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit that sided with Texas, barring the federal government from removing the razor wire barriers except in cases of an emergency, such as if a migrant is drowning or suffering from heat exhaustion. So now they go on and talk about migrant deaths in the Texas barrier. How come they don't talk about like illegal processing or anything like that? Shout out to Takao. Yo, hey, Takao, I don't know if you're on Twitter or if you got Discord or if you know what I'm saying, but if you can get that, if you got some article about that or something, if you could get that to me, that'd be great. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about that with the other thing. You know what I'm saying? Eric Adams is doing all of the wrong things in New York City. You guys notice that? He's not really trying to be known as a good mayor, is he? He's trying to end up known as the loser who didn't get reelected. Which is an interesting, you know what I'm saying, interesting thing to want to be famous for, but whatever. Right? The Justice Department told the Supreme Court this month that additional barriers the state had erected had effectively prevented the Border Patrol from being able to determine whether a migrant in that area needed emergency aid. Soon after that claim, a migrant woman and her 2 children died trying to cross the Rio Grande near a park in Eagles Pass, where state officials have blocked access to federal Border Patrol officers. The park contains a staging area for the Border Patrol and the boat ramp from which the patrol boats are launched. Though it's impossible to say what might have happened to the migrants if Border Patrol had access to the area, the federal officers would at least have been able to take any available steps to help Mexico's rescue mission, the Justice Department told the Supreme Court last week. Texas authorities blamed the Biden administration for the 3 deaths, saying they happened because the U.S. has failed to properly enforce its immigration laws. They also disputed the federal government's account of what happened the night of the drowning, when 2 other migrants were also in distress in the river. Texas lawyers said the federal government sought to blame the state for a tragedy that has already occurred before any federal official even contacted Texas. Okay. So again, like we said at the beginning when we started talking about this, it's just blame game after blame game after blame game after blame game. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to listen to your girl, Jean Pierre. She is everybody's favorite press secretary. Did you guys? I didn't know that you guys liked her so much. You know what I'm saying? I know that y'all liked her so much. I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to give her some more screen time, I guess. Oh man. Here we go. Let's see what she's talking about.
Green, on the razor wire case, now that the Supreme Court has decided in favor of the administration, what is the plan? How quickly does the administration intend to?
Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. What's good with it, Brooklyn Queen?
So I don't have the specifics on what the border security is going to do and how they're going to do it. Look, we are.
Do any of these press secretaries for Joe Biden ever have any answers? Remember Jen Hatsaki? She didn't have no answers. She was just really surgical with being a rude, snarky Karen. She should have got the highest pay in the world for being a rude, snarky Karen, because she was really good at that. But she didn't have no answers either. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 47 people watching and we got 48 likes. If everybody can bang on that like button and get us to 60, that'd be great. Shout out to Denise. What's good with it, Denise? Shout out to Denise for being or being a bot enforcer. I appreciate it. And shout out to my man, Michael R. What's good with you, bro?
Certainly glad that the Supreme Court made the decision to vacate the injunction that prevented border security to actually do their jobs, to do humanitarian work, to actually enforce laws.
Shout out to Dre D. What's good with you?
And what was put forward, that what the Texas was doing, the governor was doing, was actually ineffective, and that's something that we have to remember. It was ineffective, and so now it's going to allow border security to do their jobs. It's going to allow border security to actually act if there is an issue or a dangerous situation happening and they need to act and save lives. It's going to allow them to do that and actually do their jobs and enact law. Look, at the bottom line here is that we need changes in policy. We need funding, and that's what the conversations are happening in the Senate. And so that's incredibly important. We do not need political stunts. We do not need political stunts that we're seeing that we're seeing from the Texas governor. But look, this is we're glad that it happened, and now Border Patrol will be able to do their jobs.
My colleague who is down at the border has new video of the Texas National Guard setting up razor wire right now, today, even in the wake of this decision. How does the administration plan to deal with that without getting into some kind of direct conflict with the Texas National Guard?
So what was decided on was the ability for the Border Patrol agents to cut through the wire, right? The kind of the initial reason as the wire is being being laid out there, that still has to go to the court. The Fifth Circuit, right? They still have to go through that process. Maybe it goes to the Supreme Court. I'm going to be careful and not talk about that legal process. But what we know that we are able to do, that the Border Patrol is able to do, is cut through the border wire so they can actually do their jobs. There's a whole nother process that has to go through the legal system. So we're going to let DOJ and others continue that process. But now Border Patrol has the ability to do their jobs because now they can cut through the wire.
All right, so there's that. You guys like that picture of Tucker Carlson looking dumb as hell? It's not very hard for him to do, is it? So we're going to take a look at this clip from Fox here. All right. Your girl, Kayleigh McKinney. I wonder if Trump will use her as press secretary again if he wins. What do y'all think? Y'all think he will, or you think that he won't? Let me know.
Overtook inflation as Americans' top concern right now as voters in New Hampshire head to the polls. It's pretty big. A new Harvard-Harris poll, meanwhile, shows concerns over the border, topping rising prices, the economy, and crime as well. And the Supreme Court just handed the Biden administration...
Now, I just want y'all to see how the media is state-sanctioned media, right? Like, this is why you got to make sure that you know this is state-sanctioned media. And it don't matter whether it's the conservative side or it don't matter whether it's the liberal side. You got Jen Psaki, who's now on, I believe, NBC, right? On the left. She's working for the media. And you got Kayleigh McKinney over here, who's clearly, she's on the right. That's Trump's girl. You know what I'm saying? All these people who are in the government, in the media. Yet these media outlets try to convince you that none of them have an implicit bias. Shout out to Michael R. Michael R said, Tucker always looking like he farted, knowing he did it. Knowing he did it. You know what I'm saying?
A win may not be a win politically, but a win legally for certain on immigration yesterday. The court's ruling will allow Border Patrol agents to cut the razor wire that Texas installed to try and stop the unprecedented surge of migrants. The ruling escalates a political battle between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the White House over how to protect our southern border. Texas Governor Greg Abbott warning, this is not over. I will continue to defend Texas's constitutional authority to secure the border and prevent the Biden admin from destroying our property. Emily, I want to make clear here, the Biden administration, this is not something that is happening to them. This is something they are choosing to allow to happen. The Immigration and Nationality Act says in no uncertain terms that the Attorney General shall detain certain groups of migrants. They're not doing it. And then January 2nd, you had the Solicitor General of the Biden administration say to the Supreme Court, it's time to stop Texas.
And let's walk through what that looked like, Kaylee. So Texas put up razor wire to try to defend herself against the millions of illegal immigrants that are flooding across her border, depleting that state of resources, of finances, of energies, of the priority that has been consistently maintained over and over again as rock bottom in this administration's eyes. So Texas dared to try to protect herself. And then the Biden administration came in and started cutting the wire. So the Attorney General of Texas sued, saying, hey, administration, federal, please stop doing this. Let me protect myself. Now, this ruling from the Supreme Court has to do with the injunction while it's on appeal. It means that the Supreme Court said, while we are waiting for an official opinion from the lower courts, we are going to allow you, Biden, to keep cutting that wire. And let's go back to a quote from the Attorney General, Kaylee, as it was released. He said this to Fox News Digital. We'll put it up on the screen here. He said the Supreme Court's temporary order allows Biden to continue his illegal effort to aid the foreign invasion of America. The destruction of Texas's border barriers will not help enforce the law or keep American citizens safe. This fight is not over. I look forward to defending our state sovereignty. Let me tell you what the Biden administration argued. This is the irony. The Biden administration argued that the reason that it had to cut down the wire is because the wires were impeding the federal agents from doing their job.
So now, again, that was a good point that the cow brought up. You don't really hear any complaints being publicized or any interviews with these federal agents saying that. Has anybody seen an interview with a federal agent saying it's hard for us to do our job in Texas because the border, because the razor wire is stopping us? If you guys have seen that, give me a thumbs up. If you're watching on the replay, if you've seen that, please leave the link to the content where you've seen that so that we can cover it. Has anybody? I haven't seen that. Has anybody seen that? I haven't seen that at all. And again, I got to agree with Jacoby. Shout out to Jacoby. Jacoby says Greg Abbott would not have to use the razor wire at the federal if the federal government would have done their job. Facts. If you guys agree with Jacoby, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, then give me a thumbs down.
You know what the Department of Homeland Security said after this ruling? They came out and essentially said, oh, good, now we can go back to doing our job of enforcing the laws. But I think that every single state, I think the hundreds of thousands of Americans who have lost loved ones to fentanyl, including many people watching this show, I think the mayors that are at arms watching their...
Yeah, big facts. Big facts. Shout out to Crew Reality. Crew Reality said, I've heard them complain about not being able to arrest the illegal foreign nationals. Facts. If you guys have also heard those complaints, which I'm sure most of you have, also give me a thumbs up.
Citizens or taxpayer citizens being displaced by illegal immigrants, Maine watching their citizens enjoy buildings that are built specifically for illegal immigrants while giving them free rent, free iPhones. The list goes on of the destruction. That somehow is what the federal government is saying. That's them doing their job. So bravo to Attorney General and the governor for continuing their fight. But at the moment, unfortunately, it's a losing for the battle, but hopefully a win for the war in the long run.
Yeah, meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris deployed on the airwaves last night to carry the immigration talking points. Let's watch.
Well, so there is no question that our immigration system is broken. But sadly, people on the other side of the aisle have been playing politics with this issue.
What's good with it, bro?
The solutions are at hand. And, gone are the days, sadly, where a President Bush or John McCain understood that we should have a bipartisan approach to fixing this problem, which is a longstanding problem.
The reason why it's being addressed the way that it's being addressed is because the Democrats have ignored it. How do you criticize Texas for not using a bipartisan approach when you've used a non-approach approach? Like, how does that work? The Democrats have used a non-approach approach, which forces Texas to either not do anything or take matters into their own hands. Shout out to Solo T. What's good with it, bro? I mean, if you ask me, to me, all of this stuff is common sense. But remember, when it comes to dealing with a lot of this nonsense, common sense is not common. It's not common. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because remember, if they don't say specifically border crossings or border encounters, what they're talking about is creating a pathway to access for immigration, for immigrants, illegal immigrants, I should say. Illegal migrants, illegal border crossers, right? Patrick says when them say Fox immigration, they mean legalize the illegals or at least make them legal migrants. Facts, give them some type of status, whether it's a temporary work, whatever, something that makes them legal so that they don't have to deal with them and put them into the Supreme Court backlog to be able to take their immigration case through court and then possibly have to deal with the reality of a deportation.
You know, fact check, Vice President Harris, as I come to you, Harris Faulkner, there were 89 executive actions the Biden administration took to roll back Trump's actions. And by the way, I seem to remember Democrats controlling Congress when they said that they couldn't pass an immigration bill.
Yeah, they had bicameral leadership, both houses. They had the White House, and they still couldn't get it done, which begs the question, who backed away? Kamala Harris needs to take a look at that. Like when it was on their watch and within their own hands, they couldn't get it done or didn't want to. I have 11 cousins in the Dallas metro. I have a lot of family in Texas, and my other border home state is my husband's, where he was born and raised, and that's in Arizona. I have a lot.
She also has I don't know if you guys saw the live stream this morning, but she also has a lot of family on another planet. So, you know what I'm saying? She should ask those family members that she has on that other planet, how do they secure their border? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure they use different methods than we do here down on Earth. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You got to trade. If we live in a global world, you know what I'm saying? If we live in a universal society, you got to trade information with other cultures. If you're going to be, living peacefully amongst each other, you know what I'm saying? So, whatever race of aliens that, her family has come from, they should be able to comfortably say, in whatever sector of the galaxy it is that she comes from, what kind of methods they use and bring that to us here on Earth so that we could use it and improve what we got going on down here, because clearly we can't handle it. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of family that watches this happen every day and wonders who cares about those states enough to make them feel like they're part of the American United States. Who cares? Because it doesn't seem like it would be the man in the White House or anybody who he's tasked with fixing it. So if they aren't going to take care of it at a federal level, if Alejandro Mayorkas...
Now, somebody told me that her neck is longer than one of those water slides at an amusement park. Is that true? Would you guys agree with that? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
As the Homeland Secretary, Security Secretary, is going to lose 85,000 to 100,000 locations for migrant children. Don't know what we did with that many as they came across the border. If all of that is going to continue to happen, then these states have to do their jobs to protect our citizens. We're all one country. The government, the federal government, may not see us that way. Like they're at the head of the snake and then we're just on the ground. No, it's the other way around. We're in control as American citizens, and we have every right in our states to want our local governments, our state governments, and to expect them to take care of us. So the White House has now got to prove, do they love us or not? If not, then just get out of the way and let us protect our own people.
Right, because let's be clear, Americans are dying because of our porous southern border. Here's Rick Harrison. His son just passed away from a fentanyl overdose. He said this to the New York Post. Yes, I can confirm Adam died from a fentanyl overdose. The fentanyl crisis in this country must be taken more seriously. It seems it is just flowing over the borders and nothing is being done about it. We must do better.
So now, again, like I said, I think that the fentanyl crisis, either the fentanyl crisis should be handled the same way that the crack epidemic was handled, which means that it wasn't handled at all, or they need to do some serious backlogging and look at how they can compensate people for the mismanaged crack epidemic if we're going to attack the quote-unquote fentanyl epidemic this aggressively. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Sean Duffy, I heard last week Ambassador Nikki Haley say she was at a town hall event where a mom in that town hall event, in that moment, lost her son to a fentanyl overdose. She came back to an event a week later with tears in her eyes and said, I wanted to share this story because I wanted to know that this would mean something to someone and someone would fix it. Sean Duffy.
Yeah, the overdoses or the poisonings from fentanyl. And the problem is, it appears that Joe Biden doesn't seem to care. Tens of thousands of American families have.
So I want you guys to pay very close attention to this. If it's not obvious, one of the reasons why these people who are so concerned about the border crisis is because they want to blame, you know what I'm saying, the border crisis on fentanyl. They want to blame all of these issues that they're having on fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? It's not for any other reason. It's not because they care about anybody. It's not because it's disaffecting any other communities. It's simply because they can't afford to be dying at the rates that they're dying, and fentanyl is accelerating that. That's it. No more, no less. You know what I'm saying? They tell you everything that you need to know. The only thing that they care about is fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? So there's that.
Have lost loved ones. And to your point, you said that Joe Biden took, how many executive orders to overturn Trump policies. But on top of that, he went to the Supreme Court to make sure that they can cut the wire and tear down the barriers that Texas have put up to secure the border. They've done everything they can to make sure this border is open and fentanyl flows in. I beg the question, what's up with Amy Coney Barrett? Has she drinking the D.C. water and become now a liberal? I get that from Justice Tom.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Absolutely 110% with this, Patrick. Patrick said, isn't it the addict's fault for overdosing on fentanyl? Yes. Solely and only the addict's fault. The addict is the one that made the decision to pick up the fentanyl and shoot it into their arm, or pick up whatever drug it was that they planned on getting high with and shooting it into their arm, or smoking it, whatever it was that they decided to do. But because of the population that it affects, it becomes some high priority issue that we all need to stop what we're doing and deal with and look at and feel bad about and do hop flips and everything because it's affecting, you know what I'm saying, that particular group. I don't think so. I don't think that's what needs to be done. I think they need to get rid of every single safe injection site. I think that there needs to be jail sentences for people who get caught with fentanyl. I think that the manufacture of Suboxone and methadone and prescribing it for addiction suppression should be illegal, and physicians who do it should face criminal charges. There should be hardcore regulation on opiates. If I was a politician, I would have people so upset how hard I went on opiates. Now, one of the ways that the opiate crisis started was because of the overprescription of pain medication. That's not anything coming from the southern border. That's medical apartheid. That's what you get when you got black people and white people in the same amount of pain, and you give black people Tylenol and ibuprofen, and you give white people the highest dose of oxycodone for a paper cut. That's what you get. I don't feel sorry for any of this. And them trying to put it on the border is causing enough issues. It's causing other issues, and they want to blame it on their addiction issue. Their addiction issue is directly related to pain control differences. You know what I'm saying? Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to Brooklyn Queen. And yo, make sure y'all put a double radiation emoji and double flames in the chat for Brooklyn Queen, first stream sponsor, because she also sent your boy a Cash App. Definitely appreciate it. Make sure y'all show her some love. Throw some radiation emoji and some flames in the chat.
Justice Roberts, but Amy Coney Barrett now making sure that she can fight Texas and keep the border open. But you mentioned polling, right? So this is the top issue, and it's not just Republicans. 81% of Republicans believe this is the top issue, but half of Democrats believe this is a top issue, immigration. But after that, you have inflation, and then you have jobs in the economy. These are all top-rated issues for the Republican Party. Joe Biden is failing at the top three issues that Americans care about. At 7% comes in abortion, which is what Joe Biden is going to run on. Not a good strategy.
Not a good strategy. Molly, there's one party that has done something about this, and let's scroll it. H.R. 2, this is what Republicans passed, restarting the border wall construction, adding border agents to the southern border. You can see the list right there. So when you say Republicans haven't taken action, this bill could be passed today by the United States Senate.
Yeah, we'll see ultimately what happens with that. But I think you and Sean have both raised some great points in the last couple of minutes regarding the fentanyl and fentanyl overdoses across America. It's been hitting particularly hard in New Hampshire, in the Granite State, where voters are.
So if the fentanyl, listen, let me ask y'all this. These people are such liars. They're such freaking liars. You know what I'm saying? Now, let me ask you guys these questions about the fentanyl overdoses and the fentanyl crisis, right? Why is it that pharmaceutical companies are being sued and the basis for the suit is damage caused by the opioid crisis? So now who's responsible for it? Pharmaceutical companies or the cartel? Why, if this is all the fault of the southern border, if this is all the fault of Mexico, why are any opiate companies, manufacturers that make Percocet and all of that stuff legally, oxycodone, why are they getting sued? This is either a southern border issue or it's not. Which one is it? And see, they won't get anybody on the news to challenge them to ask these kind of questions. And these people for sure won't come over here. They will. I'm telling you guys, how long have I been YouTubing? It's a lot of y'all that's been around for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all since I first started. They will not find their way over here and either answer or contest any of these questions, which is fine. I don't care. I could care less because we already know what time it is. I haven't had a chance to cover the opiate epidemic in detail as much as I was before because of all of these things that start going down, like the migrant crisis got ramped up, and you know what I'm saying, all of this other stuff. I haven't even got a chance to put out, you know what I'm saying, the updates about, you know, Russia and all that stuff anymore. But my question is, they went from blaming the pharmaceutical companies who've actually paid out billions of dollars from settlements and lawsuits, right? To now somehow it's, you know, the border crisis that's doing it. My question is, what started the opiate epidemic? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think on the replay. What is responsible for starting and perpetuating the opiate crisis? Let me know what y'all think.
At the polls right now talking about this issue. And New Hampshire is, in fact, a border state. They have about 58 miles of border with the northern border with Canada. They're in the Swanton sector. The headlines over the summer were that there was a tenfold increase in crossings on the northern border. We don't pay as much attention up there, but that also includes some of the folks that were caught that are on the terror watch list. Governor Sununu tried to do something about this in the fall, calling on the federal government to step in and also to allow them locally to do more. They've put $1.4 million into this in a task force there on the northern border, and it's something, both fentanyl and this border issue, that New Hampshire voters are caring about, and we may see that at the polls.
It's an absolute tragedy. Molly Lyon, thank you.
All right, so there's that. All right, so we got, let me see, hold on real quick. Okay. Let's take a look at this real quick. There's a reaction from Forbes. And the reaction from Forbes is talking about that law that Texas put into place that would allow the Texas state government authorities to arrest migrants. And shout out to Brooklyn Queen for being a bot enforcer. I appreciate it. Yeah, facts, Michael. Yeah, absolutely. Overprescribing pain medication in white coal mining and logging towns. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, here's another one. What about the overdoses in Chicago? Because, you know, we've always got to ask, what about Chicago? We're going to ask, what about Chicago, until these people never want to hear about Chicago ever again. We're going to ask about Chicago until these people never ask about Chicago again. Okay. Now, do you all think that it's a good idea for Texas to arrest the migrants crossing the border illegally? Now, there's been many videos that we've watched, and a lot of the content that we've watched and all the content that we've watched seems consistent in the interpretation that what Texas is doing is illegal. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at this.
Attorney Kate Lincoln Goldfinch. Kate, thank you so much for joining me.
Happy to be here.
We have a lot to discuss. I'm excited for you to break it down for us. So last month, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill into law that would let police arrest immigrants who cross the border illegally. There's an update to this, a new development. Just this week, the DOJ sued the state to block the move. So can you break down the arguments on both sides for us?
Sure. So Senate Bill 4 is a law in Texas that is set to take effect in early March 5th or 6th. And what it says is it creates misdemeanor crimes for entering the country illegally with a step up for a subsequent entry. And it authorizes law enforcement agents throughout the state of Texas to interrogate, arrest, detain, and charge people who have entered the country illegally. It also has a provision for failure to depart, so that if someone, says that they will leave the country instead of accepting a charge, that they could face up to 20 years in jail. So it's very severe and harsh penalties. And so the arguments against the law are...
Now think about this, right? It's very severe and harsh penalties. That's what she's saying. She's saying that this is very severe, very harsh penalties. But what's so interesting about the severity and the harshness of it is that it's not severe and harsh enough to get people to stop doing this stuff. Because people are still doing it. We're still having these encounters and all of this stuff at historically high rates. So as harsh as they claim that this stuff is, it's still not effective. Like, it's harsh, yet not effective. Yeah, shout out to Shamika. Shamika said, what is that bird's nest on her head? She looked like somebody out of an 80s movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, she looked like somebody that was on the cast of the original Friday 13th, where they was actually at Crystal Lake.
That immigration is a federal issue and that police agents who are not immigration experts should not be enforcing immigration laws. Also, that there's no way to enforce a law like this without engaging in racial profiling.
Some people just can't get past it.
Officer in Dallas who has pulled someone
Some
over.
people, like some people can. Have you guys noticed that? So we gotta stop and deal with this. Some people just can they just can't move out of the era that they most closely related to, and they don't realize it. But when you look at them, it's like looking at somebody like back in time. Have y'all ever seen that? I've seen that before. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people that still they still dress like it's the late 90s or early 2000s. They still got a haircut or a hairstyle from like back in that day. And you're like, man, when you gonna cut that box off, dog? Like, don't nobody wear that no more. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thing that's interesting about me is that I'm always like extremely far ahead of my time, like really, really far. I've always dressed the same, but the way that I dress is a type of style that it blends in with everything. Shout out to Black Freethinker. It's nothing extraordinary. You know what I'm saying? It just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just kind of blends in. Like, if you looked at a picture of me, the way that I'm dressed, regardless of what time period it is, I would just blend right in. You know what I'm saying? But there's some people out there that are still like stuck in the 80s. And they don't know it. Like, these people that are stuck in these time periods, like her, I bet you she thinks that like nobody looks at her like, damn, you look like somebody that was on Family Ties. Like, you go to her law office and she come out like, where Michael J. Fox at? Like somebody on Charles in Charge or something. She wanted like one of them old, like late 80s, early 90s white TV shows. She like Saved by the Bell or something. You know what I'm saying? Where Kelly at? Where Lisa at? Zach and Slater up to? You know what I'm saying? And that's facts, Kiko. If you don't follow trends, you can always be in style. Big facts. Big facts. All them old ass pastel color, like old ass pastel colors. You know what I'm saying? Some people just they get stuck. You know what I mean? Like they get stuck and they just can't get out of it. I know some of my homies, man, they still dress. You know, like if you look at an old G Unit video, you know what I'm saying, with the 50 had the jersey and you know what I'm saying, be wearing the Jadakiss headband and stuff like that with the bubble coats and all that, people wearing the Woo Wear shirts. Those days are over. Don't nobody wear that shit anymore. You know what I'm saying? The Timberlands and all that, like I don't know, maybe they might do that on the East Coast, like farther on the East Coast, but like no one does that anymore. It's over. Let it go. To the white people, you know what I'm saying? If you like her and you stuck in the era of bad bangs and hairspray, stop it. If you black and it's 2024 and you got a Jerry curl, get over it. We're old. It don't matter if you keep your Jerry curl until you're in a retirement home. You're old. Get over it. It'll be okay. It'll be all right. You see some people, these old cats, bro, they have a midlife crisis. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you know what? Rob from Denver, I actually used to like the platinum FUBU stuff. I used to have a whole bunch of the platinum FUBU stuff. I thought that stuff was dope. Not no more, though. I ain't got none of that shit no more. I ain't got no Fat Farm shit. I ain't got none of that shit. Shout out to my man, Sean Williams. What's good with it, bro? It's over. Those days are gone. You know what I'm saying? Put the platinum FUBU, put it in a drawer somewhere or something. Get it, what do they call that? Get it dry cleaned, put it in a plastic bag, sell it on eBay for some good money, but let it go. Don't put that shit back on. Pelly Pell and, you know what I'm saying? All of that. Those days are over. She done sprayed all this damn Pantene in her hair. It's over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, man, like I see that shit all the time. I'll be trying not to laugh. Now that a lot of these companies are making money on that. Like they bringing it back. Like I see people with the new, like they got the Penny Hardaway shoes. I actually used to wear them Penny Hardaway shoes when I played on the basketball team for my high school. But like they brought the Penny Hardaways back now with like all these different colors. And like I see the throwback shit like from when I used to wear it from back in the day. I can't buy none of that. I can't wear none of that shit. No, I remember biker shorts. And the bag, the little belly pouches that people wore in the front. I remember biker shorts. That was in my time. I'm old, man. I'm old, and when I cut my beard, I got a baby face, but I'm old. You know what I'm saying? No cross colors. I used to have cross colors. I had the red and black ones. You know what I'm saying? People had them MC Hammer pants. Like, let it go, man. Let it go. Let that shit go. It's these kind of, look, this was funny, right? I never ask, people always just come up to me and ask me how old I am. Or, you know, I get ID'd if I'm going to the store to buy something, right? And then people are like, oh my goodness, like, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But these people that try to preserve the time period, no one asks you how young you are because you look young in an era that you can't identify with unless you're old as hell. This woman right here look like somebody off of Small Wonder or Punky Brewster. No one is, it don't matter how well you take care of yourself. Even if you look decent, the fact that you look like somebody from some shows that was discontinued a whole 20 or 30 years ago, everyone knows that you're old. I don't, some people just can't let it go. They can't let it go. They got the throwback, and that's one of the reasons why all of these companies make so much money off of the throwback shit. Yeah, Small Wonder, Lil Vicky, the little robot girl. Now look at all this AI shit, and they bringing the Small Wonder shit back. Now they could actually remix Small Wonder into something and actually make like an actual movie out of it with the AI stuff relevant, but they stupid, man. They're not gonna do that. Patrick still got a you still got a Pelly Pal? It's all good, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the people. How many people remember that store called City Blue? That's the City Blue collection. People got the old school City Blue collection, the Wu-Tang shit. If you look at them old videos like Ice Cream, you know what I'm saying? Raekwon and Ghostface, Incarcerated Scarfaces, you see all that old stuff. The old G Unit videos, the old Ludacris videos before Cat Williams was talking about him, exposing him. I ain't mad at it, Denise. I ain't mad at it. Man, that's hilarious. Man, that's funny. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Small Wonder equal Megan, bro. All they do is just recycle everything. But even when they recycle it, they tweak it to make it update where like it's still updated a little bit. You know what I mean? Shout out to my man Lamar Jones. I appreciate you, bro. My man Lamar Jones said you got a dope channel, bro. You should be doing Shannon Sharp numbers, man. I'll tell you, if we would be kicking it. We'd be them took over the world if I was doing Shannon Sharp numbers. Man, if I was doing Shannon Sharp numbers, I'd make a new channel with 10,000 subs every day. They would make new rules. I would put YouTube in the poorhouse. They would make new rules on monetization because I'd be running this shit up. They'd be like, man, this dude, man, it's always somebody that just abuses the system. You know what I'm saying? And it would be me. I would be abusing the system, bro. I would be abusing the hell out of it proudly. Look what YouTube just bought me a new Maserati today, y'all. Matter of fact, I would prop a cell phone up in my car and be like, look, YouTube just bought me this new Maserati today. They would be like, man, I hate him. Oh man, they wouldn't be able to stand my ass, man. They'd be like, look here, I'll pay you 100,000, man. Shut your ass up and leave me alone. Oh man. Y'all know how long I've had. Listen, I had braids before Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I got braids now. Like, I look like somebody that could be from the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? But braids, cornrows, they'll never go out of style. All them haircuts, you know, people used to get the lines and then they used to get the steps and all that. That stuff, you know what I'm saying? It'd be going out of style. The box haircut. I used to have a box when I was a kid. I used to have a Kid and Play box when I was a kid. The Kid and Play box. Like eraser head for real. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. These people, they get it. It, you know, one of these days. These people, you got to be careful with them too when you tell it, because they really think that they're doing it. They dress in their vintage fashion, and you know what I'm saying. They come out the house, they looking like they about to go play on this throwback movie. She looked like she finna go play on the new version of the Breakfast Club, the actual Breakfast Club movie about the white kids at the library. You know what I'm saying? and somebody be like, why are you dressed like Clarissa from Clarissa Explains It All? She, oh my God. Oh, she gonna go to the therapist because somebody done broke her heart or broke her feelings. You know what I'm saying? Then she'd be all right. People get hurt about that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look like you just got out of jail. Y'all remember on I'ma Get You Sucker when Fly Guy got out of jail and he was wearing them platform shoes with the fish aquarium in them? And he was walking down the street like, damn, the world changed. Yeah, it did. That's what happens. But then he went to the store, got him some threads, and then he was looking right. He got himself together. Sometimes people get hit with that reality check, and that shit hurt. Fly Guy almost broke his ankle, but then he got right. Yeah, everybody was yelling, "Aha, look at that freak! That fool got fish swimming around in his shoes." He like, oh, I'm shell shocked out here. I'm culture shocked. I'm not Fly Guy no more. I got to read the book on how to be fly again. Because this was 1965 blaxploitation film Fly. You know what I'm saying? Then the shoe broke. He almost broke his ankle. Shot the fish out the tank, man. Shot it out the tank. He didn't know what the hell to do. He had to run behind a building. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like that. But what matters is how you come from behind that building, though. Once you get that reality check, once you come from behind that building, that's what matters. Fly Guy came from behind that building, you know what I'm saying, fresh to death and hitting the target. That's what matters. You know what I'm saying?
Who is driving know or suspects that that person has entered the country illegally without using some type of racial profiling. So there's lots of arguments against the law. I would say the arguments that there are for the law are for the people who feel like the federal authorities are not doing their jobs in terms of immigration and they want the state to step in and take control.
I'm just going to ask you point blank, is SB 4, this law, is it constitutional?
No. SB 4 is not constitutional because federal immigration enforcement is a federal issue, and that is the bottom line. There was a similar law in Arizona 10 years ago, and that was SB 1070, which went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Most of that law was blocked, although there was a provision that allowed some law enforcement agents to ask people about immigration status. And so my guess is that the way that this will play out in Texas.
Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys watching. If you guys haven't hit that like button yet, please take a moment, help me out. Smash that like button. Smash that like button like smash that like button like Nikki Haley. Also, if you guys haven't shared the stream to your social media, make sure you guys take a moment and share the stream to your social media, and make sure that you guys take a moment and follow me on my other social media.
With the lawsuits, the DOJ lawsuit or the ACLU lawsuit, is that portions of Senate Bill 4 are going to be enjoined, but probably some main piece of it may be allowed to continue.
The DOJ in their lawsuit said this, quote, Texas cannot run its own immigration system. How strong is that argument? Because from what you're saying, it sounds like the DOJ has a pretty rock solid case.
I believe that they do. It is very clear that immigration enforcement is under federal jurisdiction, and that a state should not be.
How is this Okay, so how is this immigration? There should be two branches of immigration enforcement. There should be paper immigration enforcement, and there should be physical immigration enforcement. One branch of immigration enforcement should be where they're enforcing it based on fraudulent immigration claims that go through immigration court. Physical immigration enforcement, when people are trying to get into the border, it's arguable if they're immigrating. Immigration is a legal process. If they're doing something criminal, they're illegally crossing the border. That's different, if you ask me. Now, I might not be interpreting that correctly because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an immigration lawyer, but just based on logic and reasoning, again, if the United States government is not enforcing the law on Texas's border, that should automatically give Texas the right to enforce their own border until the federal government does what's right. In my opinion, I believe that strongly. I could be wrong, again, because I'm not a lawyer, but just based on logic, you know what I'm saying? To me, that's like saying you have security. Some place that you work at gets robbed. Security is not able to adequately defend the people at the place. The people should then have the right, if security is not able to defend themselves, at the very least, at the last line of defense, the people there should be able to defend themselves from whatever the threat is. Like, to me, it's just logical. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't have any legal experience. I'm not an immigration lawyer. But to me, law, from my understanding of it, is supposed to follow some framework that is based on reasoning and logic. And the reasoning and logic is not there with this, if you ask me. If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I'm gonna let you guys take care of Cal's comment in the question in the comment section. Answer this question for me in the comments section, because I think this is a good question. What do you think would happen if you attempted to cross the border trying to enter North Korea? I think Kim Jong-un would come and get you himself. That's my answer. That's what I think. What do you guys think?
Stepping in and creating a state crime for immigration issues, or asking police officers to understand and know and enforce immigration laws. So I think that the DOJ,
Kim Jong-un would come out with the most crisp fade that you ever seen on an Asian man. You know what I'm saying? And he would have that same samurai suit that he always wearing with the newest pair of Jordans and come pop you himself and then go back about his business. That's what I think would happen. And I think it would go down exactly like that. And Dennis Rodman would drive him away. I think that's exactly what would happen. But y'all might disagree. What do y'all think will happen?
has a very strong argument and strong chances to win their lawsuit. However, what we may see is that a federal court will allow certain provisions of the law to move forward and disallow other provisions, like the state crime or the failure to depart. But they may allow police authorities to.
Kim Jong-un will come walking at you with a gun pointed at you. You'd be like, damn, bro, I ain't never seen that pair of Jordans in your fade crisp. Who your barber? And next thing you know, he's saying something that you don't understand and bullets is whizzing past your head. That's what I think would happen if somebody tried to cross the border into North Korea. But I don't know, though. I ain't never tried to cross the border into North Korea. I know that there was some person who left the United States military, and I believe he tried to cross the border into North Korea, and I'm not exactly sure what ended up happening with that dude. Yeah, that's that. Shout out to Shamika. That's Shamika talking about that. The black soldier entered North Korea last year. I don't know. North Korea is weird. You know what I'm saying? Asian people don't like black people. You know what I'm saying? But Kim Jong-un is really cool with Dennis Rodman. So I honestly couldn't tell you what the hell would happen. You know what I'm saying?
Inquire as to someone's legal status in the country. So we'll have to wait and see what the courts do.
Oh, shout out to Cameron. Okay,
probably
he's
we'll
back.
see an injunction in part would be my guess.
I do.
What ended up happening with that? Because I didn't do anything with that story at all. Yeah, they both weird. You talking about Kim Jong-un and Dennis Rodman? Yeah, they both weird. That's why they friends. They both weird as hell. His name was Travis something, but they released him and he made it back safe. That's good. But was he detained though? And see, the thing is his name is Travis, right? If they released him, then that means that they took him into custody. They didn't just make him a Korean citizen. And he's back, which means that he's back here, which means that they sent him back to his homeland. So even in that equation, they still didn't handle it like how we handle it here in the United States. You know what I'm saying? They still didn't handle it like how we handle it here in the United States. They sent his ass back here. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, I'm not, please don't think that I'm on some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times when people hear about this story, Black Americans we're so used to being abused by the degenerate ass rest of the world that anytime we hear of any non-black people having a civil interaction with us, a lot of times that completely distracts people from the actual process of what happened. The actual process of what happened, congratulations, bruh, you made it back alive, but they still sent his ass back. You know what I'm saying? Which is not what we're doing with these people, of course, unless they're black. And even nowadays, certain of the black immigrants are not getting sent back. They putting them on planes and sending them some places too. They chase you down with whips if you're a Haitian migrant and horses. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, North Korea didn't give him a citizenship. They didn't give him a pathway to work. They didn't give him a check. They didn't give him free health care. They didn't do none of that goofy ass shit that we do here. They said, hold on, you ain't supposed to be here. Let's get you away from everybody. We're going to put you into custody. Okay, we're going to figure out your situation. Your situation says you need to go back to the United States. It was real. It was nice. Nice to meet you. Goodbye. We don't even do that. You know what I mean? We don't even do that. So what happened to that what happened to that black soldier who crossed into North Korea? What North Korea did with him, the United States isn't even doing with the people who cross here. So my question for you guys is, what does that tell you? You know what I mean? Food for thought.
I want to zoom out and talk about the precedent that this sets. What about other states like Arizona, California? When there is a decision, what precedent does it set for those states as well as the other states throughout this country?
Look at this. They're holding a 200-year grudge against Haiti because Dessalines had some pale heads rolling around down there in Haiti like he was playing marbles with them. Well, you know what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, I'm telling them the same thing they tell us. We got a 200-year plus grudge with the United States, and we get told what every day? What do we get told every day about our grudge? So as far as I'm concerned, hey, don't get mad at Dessalines West. Dessalines wasn't trying to do anything but get ahead in life. And based on that circumstance that those Haitian people were dealing with, I'm not mad that he used the tactics that he used to get ahead. And instead of just getting ahead, from my understanding of history, I think he got a couple heads. You know what I'm saying? But who's counting? You know what I mean?
Because as you've noted before, immigration is a political issue, hot button issue, almost a third rail issue in this country. And other governors, other states are saying every state's a border state. So what's the precedent throughout the country?
Yeah, I think this could have a significant impact, both for the state of Texas, for our economy. You know, I'm an immigration lawyer and I talk to immigrants in Texas every day. They are terrified. Many of them are thinking about leaving. We're going to have economic impacts in the state of Texas. So that's one major issue. But the impact on other states, I think other states are going to be watching to see what happens.
Shout out to Black Freethinker. But you know how I feel about this Black Freethinker. Being good is not a flex. And good guys finish last. Good people always lose. So until people learn how to, you know, as much as people brag about melanin, right? That's why, you know, a lot of times, that's one reason why a lot of times people don't like my content, because I say some shit that is real, and a lot of people claim that they want realness, but they really don't. They want to be gaslit. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. There's some people on YouTube that'll make you feel really good. I'm not that person. I don't make people feel good a lot of times. As much as people claim to, like people like Dr. Umar, and all, you know what I'm saying? They want to connect with the melanin. If people are going to quote unquote embrace the dark side, they should actually embrace the dark side, because good ain't winning nobody anything out here. Good guys finish last. Good people in the movies always end up never making it to the promised land. They die so everybody else can make it to the promised land. And now I don't want you to think that I'm picking on you, Black free thinker, because I'm not. You know what I'm saying? You just brought up a good point, which allows me to reiterate some of the, you know what I'm saying, my worldview. You know what I mean? Black free thinker says we have a legitimate grievance. I agree with that. We absolutely do. And we choose not to escalate it to a grudge, which I don't necessarily think is a wise strategy, in my opinion. But this is true. What he's saying is true. Collectively, it hasn't been escalated to a grudge because we're actually pretty good humans. Now, as far as quote unquote good versus evil goes, if you ask me, quote unquote good is operant conditioning. Good, quote unquote, is mind control, if you ask me, because I don't believe in good or evil. I believe in means to an end. That's it. I believe in that artificial intelligence level nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Like artificial intelligence be on some bullshit, but artificial intelligence gets straight to the point. How do you solve world hunger? Eliminate all humans. That's the kind of time I'm on. I'm on that direct shit. You know what I'm saying? That's one. Now that's the reason why that kind of shit. That's why them folks who keep playing around with artificial intelligence are scared of artificial intelligence. But I'm on that artificial intelligence shit. I'm on that time. I rock with AI. I'm not mad at it. I get it. Now, you see how you did that? You see how you do that? I want y'all to pay very close attention and see if you get what I'm saying. If you ask artificial intelligence how you get rid of world hunger, artificial intelligence will tell you get rid of humanity, because then nobody else will be hungry. Now, artificial intelligence is probably not going to follow the line of logic because it's programmed by them people, but ask how you get rid of WS. If you follow the same line of reasoning as how you get rid of world hunger, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. I'm on that artificial intelligence shit. I'm on that AI shit, that Allen Iverson, you know what I'm saying? But, people ain't at that level yet. People ain't ready. Like I said, like, I've always been like at least like 20 years ahead of my time, which is a terrible place to be. It's actually like a form of torture. You know what I mean? Imagine knowing all the endings to the movies, but you can't translate them to people. So they just got to watch the movie and just live the movie. Imagine that. Some sick, fucked up shit.
With the lawsuits, and we're probably going to see other conservative states pass similar laws if it's not blocked by the federal court.
The law is supposed to go into effect in early March, as you noted. So because they were sued, does this mean that this law is held up as of right now?
Right now, there is no change to the implementation date of the law. Probably before it is set to go into effect, we will have some kind of decision on an injunction or basically.
Pamela gets it. Shout out to Pamela. Pamela gets it. She get what I'm saying. She gets what I'm saying. That's it. That's what it is.
Basically an emergency stay.
Until people understand, embrace villainy. I know about Animatrix. Yeah, shout out. I actually had a shell channel that I never did anything with that I was gonna make on YouTube. That was actually called. It wasn't called Animatrix. The channel that I was gonna make was called Anti-Matrix. But I know about Animatrix though. Yeah, I was gonna make a channel called Anti-Matrix, and that channel was gonna be wild. That shit wouldn't have never went nowhere because that was like some completely conceptual, way far out stuff that probably wouldn't make sense to people until like the year 2150. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I might like bring that back and do something with it, but we'll see. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. It's hard enough to get people to rock with this shit here. You know what I'm saying?
And that's, I think, where a judge will look at the whole law and say, maybe all of it is enjoined, maybe none of it is enjoined, or maybe parts of it are enjoined. And we'll just, have to stay tuned and probably hear something in February on that.
You, as you noted, here in Texas right now, you're an immigration lawyer. So what do you think's missing from the national conversation? Because you're in the thick of it every day.
I think that what
we already know what's missing from the national conversation when it comes to a lot of stuff, man. When it comes to all of this stuff, we know what's missing from the national conversation, which is one of the reasons why when they say national conversation, they're only talking about the two wings of WS. That's just like when the mainstream media talks about the quote unquote international community. When they talk about the international community, they're talking about NATO and the EU. My man, AB Promotions, the alter ego is in the building. Shout out to my man, AB Promotions. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to Mama Zeke. What's good with it, Mama Zeke? Would you guys agree? The global coded language. Oh, well, we need to have this discussion with the international community. Yeah, the international community, as pertains to how quote unquote they talk about it, they believe that the international community is only the EU and NATO. The only reason why Russia is discussed, the only reason why Russia and China are discussed as part of the international community is because they're too big of threats to not ignore. They're too big of threats to ignore. If Russia and China were, not doing well, like how they used to not be doing well back in the day, they wouldn't even acknowledge them the same way they don't acknowledge the African countries, the same way they don't acknowledge some of the South American countries, because these people are about control. Yeah, the Australia, New Zealand, that's for the most part. We coded language, you know what I'm saying? You see what's on the flags there in Australia and New Zealand. So they like, even if you say the West, look at their flag. You know what I mean? They may as well be an extension of Great Britain. I mean, for real, technically they are an extension of Great Britain. You know what I'm saying? Like they still got legislation. It's still legislation where the royal family could just extract land from Canada. You know what I'm saying? They don't acknowledge. The only reason they acknowledge China and Russia is because China and Russia. Yeah, exactly. That's what exactly. T already on it. Exactly. They always got to let the British royal family come to China, or come to Canada, because they still actually have signed ownership to certain shit there, and certain amount of Canadian taxpayer dollars go back to the Queen. When they say British Columbia, that shit really is Britain's Columbia. It really is. That's why it's called that. Yeah, I actually did a live stream about the northern border, because when it comes to the migrant crisis, most people on YouTube have not been covering the migrant crisis, and they're only covering it because the algorithm is showing favor to the migrant crisis content, but they not covering, you know what I'm saying, the places that don't bring you big numbers. They're not covering Denver. They're not covering the northern border, like with that car that just blew up over in Buffalo. Yeah, the northern border is hardly nobody on the northern border, especially in those wooded areas. Matter of fact, in New York, they were trying to send people through northern New York to the into Ontario. New York City was doing this. You know what I'm saying? But like those type of topics about the migrant crisis, People trying to just get they trying to get the views, they trying to get the clicks, which there's nothing wrong with that. Get the views, get the clicks, because I know I'm sure as hell about to, you know what I'm saying? But if you're gonna actually, you know, engage in the content, at least respect the content and get that shit accurate. Give people useful shit. If you gonna get, you know what I'm saying, thousands of dollars from your CPM for doing this, at least give people, you know what I'm saying, a percentage of that in value for watching it. So they ain't just sitting there watching, you know what I'm saying? They ain't just sitting there with their brain draining. You know what I mean? Yeah, that car, it flew up off that ramp like a Stunticon on Transformers and then just blew up in midair. Crazy. Nobody, still to this day, nobody knows who that was or how that happened. Governor Kathy Hochul was sitting up there looking crazy like she always do.
We all need to recognize is that this nation has a need for immigrants. So whether you approach this from a humanitarian angle or a fiscal angle, the reality, the bottom line is that we have an aging population in the United States. It's only getting worse as the baby boomers age, and we're going to need people to care for them. We already have gaps in labor on all levels of the skill spectrum. So in agriculture and construction, in the semiconductor industry, we need workers. And what's great about the United States of America is we have people who want to come here and fill those jobs. It would be as easy as flipping a switch and allowing for an increased immigration system that could solve the problems of our economy.
We don't have, we have unemployment problems of where Americans need jobs. We don't have unemployment problems where you can just bring in all these people and just give them jobs that Americans need that have been produced here in America by American dollars and by American taxpayers' dollars. Like this is this is crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got to agree with Ricky. If you guys agree with Ricky, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Playing nice leads to L's eventually. Yeah. Facts. Big facts. That's what people will see. So I just sit back. People will see. I'm telling you. Just watch. People will see. They could avoid it as long as they want. Keep on avoiding it. People will see. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody that's watching. We got 46 people watching and we got 72 likes. Let's try to get to that 100. If everybody can smash that like button, that'd be great.
But instead of having that conversation, we have this conversation as if immigration is a bad word, because I think it's such a powerful political motivator for people, and that our so-called leaders use it to advance themselves in their campaigns rather than coming together and doing something like immigration reform or collaborative decision making that would improve the situation for everybody. And I think probably what's going to happen is the economy is going to suffer. It's going to get worse and worse until we get to a point where we just have to accept the fact that immigration is the solution. And I hope that we can do that sooner rather than later.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because DHS Secretary Mayorkas said that the migrants coming through the southern border is historic, the numbers coming through. I've talked to Republicans and Democrats. Both say there is a crisis at the southern border. Obviously, the solutions on how to fix that differ greatly by party. So what should we watch out for next when it comes from a law perspective?
You know, I think at the southern border, it's important to note that for 20 years, we had an orderly system for processing asylum seekers. People could present at the border, they'd be screened under a credible fear interview, and if they qualified, they'd be allowed in, and if not.
Exactly. I got to agree with Patrick Taylor. This is one of those people that's like, yeah, let them in. Yeah, let them in. But they don't want them in their neighborhoods. If you guys agree with Patrick, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
They'd be deported. That was a functioning system. We shut that down under COVID, under Title 42. And so for almost 4 years, we had zero asylum processing.
Here's the trick, Rob from Denver. Shout out to you, bro, by the way. Here's the trick. And I want everybody to answer this question. We know an estimated number of migrants, right? We can use what Rob put here. 10 million have come in. Has anybody heard anybody mention the number of jobs that there are available to be filled with anyone from these 10 million? Who has given a job report saying we have XYZ number of jobs available for migrants to be absorbed into. If you've heard any report like that, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't, then give me a thumbs down. If we haven't heard anything about these jobs even existing, we can't say that they exist. Who's hiring? Where are these companies? Which companies are offering how many jobs? Literally no information about that anywhere. If you see some, feel free to leave it in the comment section. Leave a link, put it in the Discord. Who has taken the statistic or the information or the data that says how many jobs are available to absorb any of these 10 million people? That number has not even been put out. Who has these jobs? What are these jobs? What sector of the economy are these jobs in? No information about any of these jobs that these people were work. We're going to put them to work. Put them to work doing what? There's no supporting evidence that shows that there's anything to quote unquote put these people to work with. If there is, they haven't showed it. They haven't provided any of that to anybody. So when people ask about and say, well, there's these jobs that need to be worked, ask those people who say that, well, what are these jobs? I'm interested in these jobs. Let's have a discussion about these jobs. What companies are hiring for these jobs? What industries are these jobs in? Where's the employment report on them? Is there any government statistics on them? There won't be. It's just a talking point.
Now we're back into a system where there's fits and starts, and sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. You have to use the app, and it's chaotic and confusing. And so we have not entered back into the system where we have a mechanism for screening asylum seekers. And so the result, the impact of that is chaos along the border. My argument, coming from my experience of doing asylum law in Texas for 15 years and watching this over many administrations, is that we need to just settle into an orderly routine where we allow people to come and seek asylum and we screen them quickly.
Yeah.
But when we shut the border down and we have desperate migrants, many of whom—
Yes. To Cal, yes, they are. Have you heard of Medi-Cal? Are you subscribed to to the channel called Undocumented? If there's anybody in here that's not subscribed to Undocumented, if you're not subscribed to Undocumented, put a thumbs up in the chat. If one of the moderators could put the link to Undocumented in the chat so that the people that's not subscribed to Undocumented can go subscribe. There's a video on there where it's called Free 99, and we talk about Medi-Cal, in California, in depth. So if y'all haven't seen that, make sure that y'all go and check that out.
Do qualify for asylum and they're subjected to danger and kidnapping in Mexico, they're going to keep trying to come in until we give them—
Shout out to my man DeAndre. Good look.
And that's the reality of the situation.
Make sure if you're watching on the replay and you're not subscribed to Undocumented, or if you're in here right now and you're not subscribed to Undocumented, take a minute, hit this link that DeAndre put in, hit the bell twice over there, and come back.
And when it comes to SB4 specifically, as an immigration attorney, what's on your radar that you want to put on ours between now and March?
My message to immigrants in Texas about Senate Bill 4 is not to panic, to know your rights, to understand the law. It only applies to people who have entered the country illegally recently, right? To know things like that, to consult with an immigration lawyer and find out if there's a way you can get yourself in legal status so that you can be protected.
Shout out to Jesse. What's good with it, bro?
The rest of the state of Texas about Senate Bill 4 is that this is a law that harms everyone. It harms our economy. It burdens our law enforcement officers with having to know an immigration system that's very complicated. It hurts public safety because it's going to create a whole community that has fear of law enforcement now. And so it's just a bad idea. So just in terms of, thinking and talking about this law, it's bad for everyone. And I think as long as we can start having that conversation and stop just following this idea that, immigration is a problem and it just must be stopped. That is not—
Well, you have to ask. See, so, a lot of people now, with the FBA stuff and all of that, are talking about delineation, right? But here, this is one of the reasons, this is one of the things that backs why delineation actually is important, right? This right here, you guys wouldn't even believe it, but it is. Because what's interesting about this is that when talking about this, they never delineate between legal immigration and illegal immigration. Literally, nobody is out here banging on people who legally immigrated to the country and sitting here saying that legal immigration shouldn't occur. Legal immigration is wrong, blah, yada, yada, yada. Nobody's doing that. What people are upset about is the lack of enforcement of border laws, which leads to unregulated illegal immigration, and then the facilitating of an ease of entry into American society through illegal immigration. Shout out to Pamela. No, I don't usually have my phone in the room with me when I do my stream, but if you shot your boy a Cash App, I appreciate it. Make sure y'all show some love to Pamela for throwing your boy a Cash App. I don't, anybody that does any Cash App or any PayPal, you know what I'm saying? I don't stream with my phone in the room. So if you ever send a Cash App or a PayPal, please don't think that I'm not acknowledging it. I'll either acknowledge it in the next stream, or if you tell me, like how Pamela did, I'll definitely shout you out for it when you tell me. I try to check the chat. I may not answer all the comments because sometimes they go real fast, but I'll definitely, you know what I'm saying, get to that. So make sure y'all show her some love. And please don't think that I'm not appreciative of it, Pamela, because I am.
Not the reality. And so to the extent we're hearing those messages from people in elected office, we need to pause and think a little more deeply about what the truth of the situation is and what's best for everybody.
Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, I appreciate your expertise.
What's best for everybody is if people follow the laws, and if enforcement of the laws was equal and fair, but it's not ever. So again, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? It is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to everybody who've been watching. If y'all watch on the replay, make sure that y'all leave hashtag replay gang or leave some comments with what you're talking about, timestamped. Shout out to everybody who came through to watch. Don't move a muscle. If you're not subscribed to Crimecast, this video right here, when it ends, it'll take you right in there. Take a moment, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, hit the like button. All right, I'm gonna shout out the stream sponsors. We had two. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen with the $25 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Please make sure you guys show her some love. Throw some radiation emoji and some flames in the chat for her. And also, please make sure you guys show Pamela X some love for the Cash App. Definitely appreciate it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,
walk up in the life. Yeah, I'm really talking my shit like I'm really him. Hold up. Look, walking this bitch like, hey, yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like, hey, I'm really him. Don't believe me? Come and see me. Got 3 wishes from my genie. Now I'm on your local TV. Y'all on tour, got demons. Say she wanna come and see me when I'm in a local city. I'm like, pause though. Please step aside so they can see me. And I walk up in this bitch like, yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him, on God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. I'm the realest from my city. That's on money, that's on TV, that's on mamas. Niggas don't believe me, come and see me. I been dodging all that fake. All these niggas working broke, but I been getting paid. All that know me from the street. Active for what feature, that's like every other week. Talk behind my back, I kick my feet up, have a seat. Cause at the end of the day, all these watching me as I walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him, on God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him, on God. Walk up in this light. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like I'm really him. Hold up. Look, walking this light. Hey. Yeah, I'm really him. Talking my shit like